Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, Ethan Klein, you had some thoughts.
Yeah,
we dabbled a little bit on the pod. Why don't we unpack it a little bit more?
I believe this is where shit gets a little heated. So I've heard.
So basically, I have this view that I think that we need to be clear regarding what we're talking about in this controversy. Are we talking about the legal justification for a lawsuit? Are we talking about the ethical justification for bringing the lawsuit, by which we mean ought the lawsuit be brought? Or are we talking about like other misconduct? Does that affect the ethical outlook? And I kind of have different views on this lawsuit. And I can talk about my incentives for even commenting on it. But in general, I think that a lot of my views have been misconstrued or misinterpreted to be something that they're not. And I think that what I'm proposing is not actually a very controversial view at all. And that most of the disagreement with my view has to do with like perceptions about my motivations or about relevance or emphasis. And so that's basically like kind of my starting set of assumptions is like, let's be clear about what we're talking about and let's see if we agree. And then let's talk about why it matters.
I don't know if I have a strong interest in having a conversation about ought the lawsuits have been brought. That's not really the thing that interests me too much because
anyone can bring a lawsuit for any reason.
Well,
let me give you a point of contact.
That's
right?
a good question. So like that to me is like the least part of the interesting part of the conversation because like that seems totally subjective. Like, and it's difficult to unpack that. You know, like I don't know what I would do if I was in his if I was in his spot. And like you for example, I think you said that he has a strong case, right? So like if these laws, if these copyright or regulations or statutes or whatever they are, if they exist and somebody abused them and he's, you know, using the legal mechanism to get a remedy for that, then you know, are we saying that that means that it was justified, or like what kind of angle are you going for here? Like, do you want to have a conversation about should he have brought the lawsuits?
Well, I think that's a conversation that a lot of people do want to have. Whether you want to have it, I'm not sure. But just to give you a point of contact, I stopped by your stream a little bit recently and I said hello. But I heard you talking about like the propriety of like Denims' statement and analyzing whether she should have said this, whether she was throwing Kaceytron under the bus. And so in that context, what we're really talking about, whether it's subjective or not, listen, I take all this kind of normative analysis to be subjective in the sense that we're just talking about what do you think about ethics? What do you think ought to happen? I do think that people have a desire to talk about the underlying ethical justification for all sorts of things, including but not limited to legal action taken by individuals. And I think that there's a lot of people who care about that. And I think that you care about, regardless of its subjectiveness, the ethics of certain people's conduct surrounding this, including the ostensible triggering incidents that brought this about, the CPS call, the conduct of the snarkers. Like this is all norms laden. And so I think it's a little bit much to accept that people are like, it's irrelevant to talk about ethics. It's irrelevant to talk about moral justification because everyone's talking about it. And if someone asks me about it, I want to be clear about where I stand. And the more, and separate and apart from that, I think there's a broader norm that ought be established to like not blatantly lie to your audiences. And all of us kind of like do this kind of debunking shit when there's like, if Tim Pool is accused of lying about the shooting or whatever, no one's stopping to say like, why are you calling out lies? What do you care?
But you're saying,
I can give an explanation, but
you're saying that Ethan is lying about any kind of motivation to like protect.
The real base take here is that the people who are harassing Ethan that he's suing are horrible people anyways, and so I don't care.
His IP, or do you call it IP or copyrighted content? And but you're saying that that's a lie because the real motivation is this like personal grievance. But why can't it be both? I don't understand why we can
get into that conversation, and I definitely want to have this conversation.
I mean, to me, it's very obvious that he's motivated by both. Because like he's already on the record as being someone who was trying to bring attention to what he considered to be like lazy React content. And what the three people that he sued did went even beyond that. Like, it was beyond just like lazy React content. It was, we might say, malicious in nature. You say that has no like bearing on the case, just like malice or whatever. But the fact remains that they were being malicious about it. Like they were openly advertising that their intention was to siphon views. And it happens to be the case that all three of those people were participating in an internet pylon that was like some of the most vicious behavior from online communities that I've ever seen. True. In all my years of being on the internet. True. How they behaved around the whole CPS thing was fucking vicious. It was fucking vicious. And so like, I think he was motivated by both of those things. Like, was it right to bring the lawsuits? I don't know if I would have done it, but I understand why he did it. I don't know if that's a cop-out answer, but I understand why he did it.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're not talking past each other. So I definitely want to have a conversation about ought he have done it. But before we get into that, I just like want to make sure that you think it's worthwhile to even have that conversation, right? Like, so we're not even talking about the thing itself. It's like people will question, why should we care about these ethical oughts and whether something is good or bad? And I thought I was hearing something approaching that critique or that observation from you. And so before we get into like the actual meat and potatoes, which I do fundamentally reject the view you just presented on different grounds, I want to make sure that you consider that conversation to be valuable.
It can be depending on, sure.
Let me give you a little insight here.
Because like intellectually valuable? What do you mean?
So people will say things like this, Pisco, this is a boring conversation. Who the fuck cares about whether these lawsuits were the right thing to bring or not? Or like, I don't really, or someone might say something like, I don't care whether it was right or wrong to bring the lawsuit. And I just want to make sure you're not proposing those views of like indifference. Like maybe you are indifferent as to whether it was right or wrong to do, but presumably you think that that's a worthwhile conversation when analyzing, especially now this is getting a little bit into the argument itself, but I still do want to have the meta conversation first to make sure that we both agree this is a valuable conversation that we want to have. For someone who presents a lot of his lawsuits or his legal stuff as vindicating some broader interest, either in a particular group or in a broader community, I think that we ought care about whether we agree with the assessments being rendered by Ethan and co.
It's not that I'm indifferent. It's more that I'm agnostic. Like you can, and maybe that sounds like a cop-out answer. Like I want it both ways. Like no, it's not that I'm avoiding taking a firm position. It's just, I can understand why he did it. And I can't tell you if I would have made the same decision because I've never been in that position. I don't know what it's like to have children and then have government called to your home to like try to force you to justify that you should be allowed to continue to have guardianship over your own kids. Like, I don't know how I would have felt in that moment. I don't know what kind of actions I would take after the fact. But I'm also sympathetic to the idea of like, fuck, I mean, that must really suck to be bogged down in that kind of litigation. It's not like I have no sympathy for people like Kaceytron or Frogan. Like, even though I find their conduct to be pretty disgusting, what they did with Ethan and Ela and how they were joking about the CPS calls. And you could argue that Denims helped to enable it with the way that she was running her chat on the particular day that topic came up. And, but even with all that, I'm sympathetic to like, fuck, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in that kind of a situation, but I don't know if that answer is going to be satisfactory for you, but I don't know what I would do in that position. I really don't, but I understand why he did it.
Doesn't Pisco like Denims?
I don't think there's anything inconsistent with you saying you're agnostic on the ethical question, but also maintaining that it's a worthwhile conversation to have. That's what I want. I want to say those are distinct questions. Whether or not you have
that might not be true
view about whether it's good or bad is different than whether or not you think it's a conversation, that the conversation about whether it's good or bad is worth having. And what I want to avoid more than anything is someone after the fact saying, who the fuck cares about this shit? Or like you saying, I don't even give a fuck about the conversation. Like, clearly you care. We're having this conversation. It's maybe like the third or fourth time we've had a conversation about this. You have a vested interest. And
oh my God, dude, these meta conversations make me want to kill myself. Get to the point.
You're weighing the respective normative weight of what the parties are doing.
Who cares? Just talk.
Is it good for
and talk about what we're going to talk about?
Is
like,
it okay
come on,
for Hasan Piker to not donate. And so I think
Yeah,
it's a
that's
little
fine.
much to accept that this is a conversation that the ethics of bringing the lawsuit.
These people,
who cares about that? But all the other aspects.
Hasan is
ethical
like
assessments
always
of
been a
other
selfish person,
conduct,
so why
that
would they
stuff is
expect him to
interesting
do
me,
that?
and I will comment on it. So just to be super clear, I do want to get into the question here, and let's also talk about the other issue, the legal issue, whether I think it's important or not, and the lies for sure that you
Like
think that
Hasan has never, it is a based reality check. Like Hasan doesn't like promote or like help the people underneath him, the people around him. So if they're going to choose to fall on his sword for him, which they were doing in that situation with the content nuke shit, like, why would you expect him to like fucking do anything for you? Like he's never done that. Like for anyone who's been like in his corner, you know, normally he fucks them over and betrays people. So
a valuable conversation, or
you could say that that's like shitty, and it is obviously, right? But like if you're dealing with a shitty person who has like a long track record of being a shitty person, like why would you expect them to suddenly act any differently when it comes to you if you suck them off?
one at least that you're interested in. Because if you say
I
I'm
want
not
what you
interested
want.
about whether but I want, if you want what I want, I just want you, like, this is what I want. I want us to agree that this conversation, it matters. It matters whether or not Ethan did the right thing. Doesn't it matter to you?
I don't know how to evaluate that in an objective sense, though. That's what I'm saying. I really don't. This is such a messy thing for me. Like I don't think I can give you an answer of like this is unequivocally bad or this is universally bad or good
I'm not
thing.
saying no. That's getting into the meat about whether it's good or bad.
Pisco's about to talk about right or wrong, good or bad morality, and then he's going to give a bunch of legal arguments. I can already see it coming. He's going to give a bunch of legal arguments for why what Ethan did was wrong. Oh God.
That's a separate question. I'm being very precise here. You care whether or not, like you care about the conversation. You care about the relative arguments. You care about thinking regarding whether this is good or bad. And I think that's clear. I mean, if you're really going to say, well, I spent all this time talking about the ethical implications of Denims' conduct, of Hasan's conduct, of the Snarker's conduct, but I'm not going to consider the ethical implications of Ethan.
I'll consider it. It's fine. If you have a case to make in terms of like why you think he shouldn't have made the case, then I'm genuinely open to being persuaded. Like
awesome.
There's a universe where you could convince me that it was a wrong thing for him to do. Go for it.
No, but no, just because I get shared these people who really don't get it, and they're making comments like, "Who the fuck cares?" Or like, "Who asked Pisco? Who the fuck asked whether this is good or bad?" Like, you guys all
who the fuck asked Pisco?
We all care about these norms, and the proof is in the pudding.
To an
The fact that
extent,
we spend any time on it, the fact that people feel vindicated and feel that this is just desserts meaning these people deserve what's going on. That is a normative conversation. It's saying this.
Kaceytron absolutely deserves it. So does Denims. Frogan, I don't know, maybe
deserve. This is either a punishment or some kind of retribution or some kind of like justice for Ethan, and that is intrinsically invoking normative assessments. And so what I don't want to hear is this kind of like banal statement that you get from the Redditors that are like, "Who the fuck cares? Who asked about the ethics? As long as it's legally viable, that's the only thing that matters." That shit is cooked. Agreed?
Kitty girl content.
What's
please?
The notion that the only thing that matters is the legal argument. And this is coming from
no one's saying that. Like what? You could say it's morally bad, but like if you put yourself in his position, in Ethan's position, it's pretty easy to justify, in my opinion.
Someone who obviously cares a lot about the legal argument. My whole reason of examining this in the first place was because it was a new copyright case, and I have an interest in copyright, and I've been following H3 for a while, and even their first case, and I actually really praise them. And if you watch my coverage, I really praise them for their initial lawsuit defense against Bolt.
Pisco even around back then?
As someone who does care about the legal argument, someone saying like the only thing that matters is whether or not it's legal or not, and whether or not they have a good case.
No. I mean, it's like it's interesting conversation, and like I can just lay out very clearly to you the pro case, like the bullish case, the case for this potentially being an appropriate action, and then you can tell me your case, and we can go from there. But
so to be clear, this is not a view that you necessarily hold. It's one that you want to provide.
I hold the view, but again, there is a conflict in me. I'm just being 100% transparent.
That's
like
fine.
some things I'm not.
You think it's a good thing that he brought these lawsuits against Denims, Kaceytron, and Frogan? Correct?
I think a good outcome of this happening is the possibility that creators in that space will do more to moderate their own communities.
Right, but you understand
That's the value the value that I see, and so that is a potential. That is an argument in favor of Ethan taking this action. Did it have to be this litigation action?
I wonder where Pisco's like desire to like die on this cross, to die on this hill comes from. I am curious. I'm pretty sure it's just all the commie insurgent dipshits in his community, but who knows? Maybe that's taking away too much agency from Pisco, but that is absolutely the vibe I get.
Or could it have been a different action? I don't know. But like that is the strongest case that I would make, is that these creators existed in a world where they were totally emboldened. They felt like they had total impunity. They demonstrated no sense of responsibility for moderating their own communities. And in some cases, they explicitly or implicitly egged on this kind of what I view to be like significant harassment. Like it is to me a really significant form of harassment.
Oh yeah.
To do a CPS report and then that ends up with a government intervention. That to me is so much more significant than the litigation.
A malicious CPS report that is based either on lies or distortions, things like that, right?
They didn't
like you wouldn't say like a CPS report by itself is bad. It's when it's
obviously
lies,
not Pisco
or exaggerations, right?
They had a vendetta against Ethan, and that's all.
It's motivated by bad stuff.
What is this like?
Or bad.
What is this rhetorical trap Pisco's trying to set up here?
It's calling CPS on a basis that is improper, such as trying to hurt someone, not actually being concerned about what's going on.
Obviously,
including lies.
The fact that he's asking such a dumb question makes me think he's leading into like some stupid ass trap, but we'll see.
Lies in whatever you're telling CPS, or exaggerations, or things that can't be reasonably obtained. Yeah, okay.
They crafted a narrative about him and Hila that they were these ultra Zionist genocide supporters. It was a full-on mass psychosis event for that community, with a collective audience of hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And in that collective audience pool, they crafted a narrative about Ethan and Hila. Number one, that was just a total fucking lie. But number two, that narrative that they delusionally all convinced themselves was true, at least maybe some of them did, but there was also an element of like bad faith to this as well. And so like I think they wanted to
True, and Ethan's already so disagreeable, and he has a lot of dipshit opinions already, so I don't know why they needed to invent, to fabricate an entire reality about him that was obviously not true.
Believe that about him. So it's possible maybe the person who made the report, like got themselves to believe this lie about Ethan. But the whole point is like it was fostered by those creators. They had an active role in
especially
making a mockery of the whole situation.
Denims especially is culpable in that situation, the CPS thing.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? The creators like fostered this in their own communities. They helped
intended for them to call CPS.
They helped promulgate these lies about Ethan and Hila, and in doing so, well, did you say what lies?
I said okay, lies.
Okay,
so I'm understanding. So how they're fomenting it or how they're fostering it isn't with a specific intention for a kind of action, but doing stuff with its okay.
I'm not saying that, but in the case of, I would have to go back because it's been a minute since this drama kicked off. This was like a year ago or a year and a half ago when the CPS stuff happened. I don't even remember.
Like a year ago.
Specifically, she was watching like a BadEmpanada video where he was doing these, and you would agree that BadEmpanada is a malicious actor, right? Like
absolutely
just one of the worst malicious actors in the entire space, right?
I mean, that's my understanding of his reputation.
Oh, no fucking way is Pisco gonna defend BadEmpanada. Oh no, that's my understanding of his reputation. Is he just gonna weasel out and say he doesn't know, he hasn't followed BadEmpanada closely? Because that'd be hilarious. That'd be such a cope. Oh my god, what happened to this guy? Damn, Pisco's a fucking idiot, dude.
I have seen him do things that I would consider to be malicious, and so
oh my god, what is this fucking
okay lie, like he will lie, he will call people pedophiles, he will lie, like his whole thing is he thinks that it's justified.
I don't consume his content. I understand that's his reputation. I've seen instances, for example,
it's not just his reputation, he has a storied history of like maliciously lying.
Please don't let him slip away
as his enemy.
Dude, please do not let Pisco slip away from this. Please, Hutch, please. I know they're friends or whatever, or at least at this time. I don't know if they still are or not. We'll see how this debate goes, huh? But that was such a cop-out political ass answer from Pisco about something that he should easily be able to condemn immediately. A person who is a fucking psycho in BadEmpanada.
I'm just telling you my what I have access to. What I have access to is I know he has a reputation for malicious lies. I know he has a reputation for doxing and for saying stuff, and I know that they have their own justifications for it, publicly available stuff. But I kind of have a different view on that issue, and I think that there are self-standing harms and stuff that he engages in. For example, regardless of whether or not it's technically publicly accessible, I think that certain kind of revelations of information, even publicly available information, can sometimes, I think, be considered norm violating. And so I've seen him make certain connections that I find to be malicious. I can't recall them though as I sit here, and I'm not going to claim to know more than I do.
Let's put it this way:
Jesus
Hasan
Christ,
had a no BadEmpanada video policy at one point because he.
That's what I mean.
That's what I mean. Okay, dude. Dude, why is he like not willing to bite the bullet on BadEmpanada as a bad person? What the fuck happened to this guy, dude? I'm so disappointed in Pisco. God damn. What the fuck? Why is this? It says capture cursor on, but it's not capturing my fucking cursor, bruh. Oh, I just need to click on the window. What the fuck happened to this guy, huh? Jesus.
He had even acknowledged that BadEmpanada was completely deranged and unhinged. And it wasn't until BadEmpanada started doing like anti-Ethan content and like, I guess, pro-Palestine content that Hasan just consciously decided to forego that, or to get rid of that rule. And then he started platforming BadEmpanada repeatedly over and over again, knowing that BadEmpanada had this like very unclear record of malicious behavior. And then people like Denims watch this BadEmpanada video about Ethan. And if you, again, it's been like a year and a half, but like her chat on the screen that day, when she was watching this video, they were all doing like CPS talk, and it was just like, she was making no effort to moderate. Would you agree, for example?
And you feel she has an affirmative obligation to do that, right?
Of course, don't you?
I'm not sure what the standard is for. So if people are calling for CPS calls in the chat, I'm not sure that I would moderate those opinions. If they have the opinion, that would you?
1000%. You would. Okay. I don't you would. Come on. If you had people in your chat that were like, I don't know, Hutch seems kind of dodgy. I think he's like beating his fiance. I think we should call.
What? Pisco's fall off makes me sad. Yeah, dude, it is sad. I thought he was a smart guy. This is weird to me. His answers are making me feel like, I don't know. It almost feels like he's like scared to upset his like the people in his community who are like these crazy commie types, Call the cops. You feel like you don't think you'd have a responsibility to jump in and be like, no, hang on.
I'm not sure. What I'm telling you is I don't have that intuition that this is an expectation or norm, that you have an affirmative obligation to, like, I have deranged chatters say totally unhinged stuff. Like, for example, they should be killing Kilmar, Abrego Garcia. They should be throwing all these illegal immigrants into the fucking waters. And that's their, political opinion, or that's their norm-based opinion. I don't know that I guess I don't know if I share that intuition. Now, if it's actively calling for such things to occur, everyone call CPS. Maybe that's different. Maybe that's or if
that's what I mean.
Dock people.
That's what I mean.
When I would say, like, I say, and have an affirmative obligation, but then you have to answer the subsidiary questions. And I do want to take a step back in a second, because I think that we're in the weeds in a way that I'm concerned about, and I'll tell you why. You have to then see, like, she saw that, and that she.
No, I'm not. Yeah, no. Sorry, I didn't mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I think the nature of the obligation depends on what the what the expectation is to read chat. Like, often I don't read my chat, but like, I want to be clear. I think that there are affirmative obligations to prevent your chat from encouraging illegal conduct, encouraging false things, encouraging government associated things. That for sure. But an opinion, for example, is, so I'll give you the following thing. I think it's justified for CPS to be called. Should that be moderated?
In a general sense, or in this particular sense?
Oh, shit. It seems based on this that, like, they're eating poop, and they have a wrong opinion, which I think it's the wrong opinion.
No, wait, hold on. Sorry. Are you talking specifically in this context, or just generally? Like, are you saying?
Well, let's do an abstract first, and then we'll go to this context. Okay. So in general, if someone said, there isn't this massive whatever you're characterizing as a wave of harassment against Ethan Klein, and this someone in your chat says, I don't know, this is kind of fucked up. I think that someone should call, like, I think it would be justified. I'll put it there.
Sure, if it's a good faith observation, sure. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so we can disagree with that, but the nature of what the message is and whether she read it, I think matters to me. Hutch, I do want to say though, I wanted to take a step back, right? Like this is all stuff that I think indicates that we care deeply about the ethics of people's conduct online, and that we're interested enough. We had the conversation about Taylor Lorenz, for example, on the chorus stuff, and all of this matters. That's kind of the base root here.
Sure.
That said, I want to be clear about whose conduct we are assessing, right? Because it could be the case that the conduct to call CPS, I do believe that it's immoral, incredibly immoral to call CPS on the basis of what Ethan said regarding the Giardia stuff. I think that that's unhinged. I wouldn't do it. I would condemn people who would call CPS on that basis. And just because though that is unethical doesn't mean that everything in response is also ethical, right? So I want to be clear about whose conduct at every stage that we're talking about we're analyzing. So who do you want to analyze first?
Well, we can't analyze Ethan's actions in a vacuum, though. We have to evaluate the conditions that arise that led to that.
Agree.
Yeah.
But what is our dependent variable? What are we trying? What is the ultimate focus of our inquiry? Are we trying to figure out whether it's right or wrong for Ethan to bring the lawsuit, or do you want to spend some time to build that, to talk about various different
BadEmpanada is obviously insane. Why won't Pisco just say that? True.
Actions that different people took regarding Ethan?
You had asked me. I mean,
it's I don't know. You know how Spider-Man has like his spidey senses. I'm having my grifty senses go off when Pisco dances around condemning fucking BadEmpanada, dude. Are you serious?
I was giving you my argument for why litigation.
I'm not healing.
Could be justified.
Suck my
could
cock
be a
and balls.
justifiable response to what happened. And
Okay,
that's where I'm coming from with it.
So let's start with Kaceytron, right? It's justified to sue Kaceytron for copyright infringement because I would assume you would say A, she committed copyright infringement, right?
You tell me. You're the lawyer here.
Well,
I don't know.
I justified to sue Kaceytron for copyright infringement. So let's start with Kaceytron, right? It's justified to sue Kaceytron for copyright infringement because I would assume you would say A, she committed copyright infringement, right?
You tell me. You're the lawyer here.
Well,
I don't know.
Presumably you wouldn't be in favor of suing Kaceytron if you didn't think that she committed
No, if it was frivolous, no. Yeah, generally.
And I want to ask you, because first of all, I don't think any of these cases are frivolous. I just want to make that 100% clear. Anyone who says it's frivolous, that's wrong. Why would you be against someone bringing a frivolous lawsuit in this context?
Maybe I'm a bit like a purist about the system, that the system shouldn't be used in that kind of way. I don't know. I'm just intuitively against it.
No, I think that's right. Right. I think that's right. I think that we have this intuitive notion that these legal frameworks are here to represent particular things, and we just have like a structural issue with individuals who at least in the case, and again, I want to stress, I don't believe these are frivolous cases. I don't believe they're frivolous. I don't believe they're frivolous. I don't believe they're frivolous. In the case of a frivolous lawsuit,
why did Automod hold that with
the motivation in bringing that lawsuit, that is a predominating structural concern, and we don't want the law to be used for an end that we consider to be improper.
Fuck you mean no?
That I think it's especially present when the suit itself is frivolous, because if the suit itself is frivolous, the chances that what's actually being motivated are genuine concerns under the law are much. The
suit's obviously not frivolous.
So I think that you're repeating an intuition that I have and that we all share, which is that the law protects certain rights, vindicates certain interests, and to the extent that we are using the law to target things that we think are improper under those various frameworks, it raises a concern about abuse of process.
I'm not saying, dude, I'm like blind. And
moral hazard. And the moral hazard here is especially concerning given the amount of leverage that a particularly rich person has in the context of the legal system. I think a lot of people can understand that the American legal system is one which is not equal in terms of who is trying to vindicate a claim. So I agree with your assessment there.
I have a question then. Beyond frivolity, maybe I didn't understand what you said.
Yeah.
Is your position that you shouldn't bring a lawsuit against someone, even if it's not frivolous, unless you are exclusively motivated by the desire to get a particular remedy about that case. Or is it ever appropriate to bring litigation because you have personal grievance with someone, not necessarily because, like, even if the case is valid, right? Like in this case, you say it's trolling. Like, is that wrong to you? Is that an immoral use of the system to impose that kind of consequence, maybe for some other unrelated behavior, but you're using the system in that kind of way? Is that what you're saying your moral position is?
No. What I'm suggesting to you is merely, and I will get to what I think my standards are, is that there are situations in which, you know, it might not be a crime to file a frivolous lawsuit, though it's often unethical. That motivations behind bringing a lawsuits matter. And someone who is, for example, we'll take an easy case. Suppose that Ethan Klein were purely motivated, 100%, not any other percentage, 100% motivated with the specific purpose of silencing his critics by filing justified lawsuits.
Do you think he's trying to silence these people?
This is a hypothetical.
Okay.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Okay.
So the hypothetical, I'm not saying that this is necessarily what occurred. I'm giving you a stylized example just to prove the point that if it were the case, right? If it were the case that the only motivation, the pure motivation, this is the easiest case, that's why I'm making it easy for myself, were to silence critics because he felt he didn't like their criticism. He felt that the criticism was like untrue or something, or that he didn't like that they said it. And that's why he was bringing otherwise valid claims of copyright infringement, that you would think that that was bad.
If he was off base.
With respect to what? His opinion?
No. About his judgment about like what they said about him. Like, in my opinion, like you brought up the idea of like him using the legal system in this kind of way, but he is responding to a community of people that use the legal system against him in a way that I would argue is worse.
Yeah, but Hutch,
that was a response to that. So like,
hypothetical.
No, but I'm just saying, so in your hypothetical, it depends on like what was being said about him. Like,
right. So I'm trying to simplify it only because if you don't grant me this hypothetical, then the conversation's over, right? If you say I don't give a shit that his motivation is to silence his critics, as long as there's a valid claim, I don't have a problem with it, then we don't need to get into the weeds at all.
No, but
right?
this is what I'm telling you is that like we can't evaluate this without getting into specifics about like what is being said about him in this hypothetical. So like, if he's using the legal system to silence critics because they didn't like his opinions about things, then yeah, I would say that that's an immoral use of the system. That would be overreach. That would be too far. But if they're using, but if they're saying, if they're spreading lies about him, about like abusing his children, for example, then that's a different conversation entirely, right?
We're just saying all else equal, and I would add like a kind of there could be certain extenuating circumstances where even a desire to with the only desire is to silence one's critics, if there really is some overriding concern in terms of like the world's about to blow up, and if you don't bring the lawsuit, even though it's motivated by this thing, like I can think of situations in which I would grant it. But
yeah, if you have like a vindictive motivation to do something, but you have a genuine claim, I mean, like the genuine claim supersedes any motivation behind bringing the action, in my opinion, even morally. So
in general, that's why I'm using a stylized example, by which I mean like a simplified one that's not, you know, we can't read minds in the real world, right? We don't know for certain all the time what people's intentions are. We have to rely on circumstantial evidence. The only reason I'm giving you a stylized hypothetical is for you to grant me the easy case, so we have a base to work with. Because if you don't grant me that, and if you say, I don't really give a fuck if your only motivation, if your pure motivation, all else equal, is to silence your critics, then then the conversation on ethics just ends there, right? Because then like,
they surrendered? Oh, okay, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Okay, first of all, I don't think Ethan's goal is to silence them for being critical of him, right? That's not really what he's doing. It's specifically these people that are like fomenting like the most insane level of harassment imaginable. It's not just critics, right? Like, what the fuck is he talking about?
All we have to talk about are like, I guess, the lies and the legal validity of the case, but the ethical stuff kind of falls by the wayside if you just don't grant me that example.
If Ethan was trying to use the system to generally just silence his critics, then that would be bad.
Yeah, but
Yes.
obviously he's not
Alright.
doing that.
And you would also agree that all else equal, you can think of situations in which this is not the case. Lying about your intention regarding a lawsuit, that independent of whether filing the lawsuit itself is bad, in general, lying about why you're filing a lawsuit is itself bad, right?
I mean, lying in a vacuum is bad. There's a
Right.
content element to this where like Ethan Klein is this public persona. And I think if you asked his audience, like his dedicated fans that like watch all of his shows, they will tell you that Ethan is like a very kind of like petty person and doesn't really make any effort to hide it.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
So there's him
That doesn't really change anything. Not that Hutch is saying that, but yeah.
like, maliciously lying, actually like trying to do actual subterfuge or deception. And then there's like him like being coy, right? Like you understand that there's a difference in those kinds of like versions of dishonesty,
No
right?
doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. What you're suggesting is a kind of like open facetiousness, or
Yes.
kind of like coy, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah.
Where
That's what those lefty dipshits do all the time.
it literally
Pisco does this sometimes.
it might be a lie, but everyone kind of understands what's going on, and so
Yes.
we don't really interpret it as a lie because it's kind of like a farce,
Yeah.
right? So I can totally acknowledge that distinction for sure. No, and that's not what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
What I'm merely suggesting is, all else equal, if you wouldn't be like, it's good for Ethan to lie about his motivations. You would be like, it's bad to lie about it, right?
Yeah, like
right.
just like
Now-
in a
now there could
very
be some-
broad sense, but
Yeah, there could be some extenuating circumstance where if he doesn't lie about his motivation, the world will blow up, or they'll take away his kids or something like that, and there can be some more. But in general, like, we even think this of our politicians. We don't like
Yes.
it when our politicians lie. In general, we don't think that's good, and we think that there's a good norm.
Taking like a month break from like watching like these communities has awoken my mind to how frequently they do this like double speak bullshit where they're like, oh God, the meta conversations and shit, just so boring. And the amount of time that they spend like discussing like it's frustrating, like, or the political answers, the talking around shit, the like setting up a point with some like ridiculous hypothetical, like,
In making sure that our public communicators are being frank and being upfront, and it's distasteful to us. We don't like it. All right, so this is just establishing. Because what will happen, Hutch, and it's not really specific to you, is people will say things like, who the fuck cares if he lied? I guess everyone just kind of assumed that he lied. Whatever. It matters to people. Like, these kinds of lies matter. And it matters when they do it, right? It matters when BadEmpanada lies. It matters when Hasan lies. It matters when Denims lies. Fair?
yes, but I feel like we can't just skip over what I just said a moment ago, which is essentially just like, not all lies are created equal. Like, we should not,
I agree.
We should not evaluate all lies as the same, just like it's just lie equal bad.
No doubt.
It's like,
So,
in
for
this
example,
context and
when
many
the
other
Trump
contexts.
administration, when they lie about like the fact that they, the thing that comes to mind right now is they lied about whether Costa Rica would accept Kilmar Berger Garcia as a third country removal. And even though they said, yes, we would love to accept him, you don't have to send him to fucking Liberia or Africa. Like, there's no reason to do that. You can just send him here. And when Trump lies about that, I'm like, yes, this is a worse lie than a potential lie about a copyright lawsuit. Okay. All I'm just saying, though, is not that there aren't lies, that one lie can be better or worse. If you lie about whether, your girlfriend looks fat in a dress, if you lie about, like,
Sure.
I'm not saying that all lies are created equal. What I'm just mainly saying is, in general, we would be against Ethan in the sense of, we would condemn him lying about his intentions. We would say it's bad, right? Like, misleading his audience about the reason behind a lawsuit. And I think that you would grant me that. Fair?
But what's the value? Like, yes, but like, what's the value of this hypothetical when we know the particulars? Why don't we just get to the particulars? You're trying to establish this framework. You're trying to take me on this journey.
It's important is because I don't want it to be the case that
see,
I get you.
I'm glad Hutch is calling it out. He is trying to take him on a fucking journey. That's so funny. Sorry.
To agree that there's a lie, and then you'd be like, but I don't care.
But hang on. I just said a moment ago, I don't think that, like, I think when Ethan talks, I think everybody knows what motivated Ethan in the first place. And I think it is both of these things, like the
three
personal
tanks,
grievance that he had with these people for their contribution to his family's very real, like, suffering and harassment. And I think he also cares about malicious React content, as evidenced by his previous history of addressing these things.
I know your position is that there is no evidence he lied, or the evidence you don't believe that he necessarily lied, or that he did lie at all. I understand that that's your position, that he didn't in fact lie. What I'm trying to suggest to you is, if he did, you can understand why someone would condemn it.
But what do you think he lied about, though? Why don't we get to that? What do you think he lied about?
Okay, let's get right to it. I think he lied that his motivation for the lawsuit was to protect the React community. That's number one. That's the first lie. So I've identified a lie.
He probably did lie about that, but who cares?
He never actually said that. I think that would be an absurd thing to say. Number two lie. He lied when he said that Kaceytron's apology was sincere. I think that those, at a bare minimum, are two significant lies that we should, if true, and I think you should grant
Healers? Do they exist?
If it's true he lied about those two things, or either of those two things, you would condemn it. Fair?
I think not necessarily, no, because I think I think I agree with you that he put a little mustard on the idea that Kaceytron was being sincere. I think he was I think it was a kind of gloating for him. I think it was a kind of feigned being like magnanimous.
Oh, you don't think he was being sincere when he told his audience not to attack Kaceytron, and that this was a sincere apology?
No. I think he was being sincere there. I think he was trying to
presumably then.
I think he was trying to mitigate, or maybe he was. Maybe honestly, maybe he was feeling magnanimous in the moment. But when you watched, I watched the opening of that stream, and the vibes were pretty clear. Like, he opened the stream. I mean, that was a fucking victory lap. Like, he was, of course, gloating. Like, he was gloating,
and he should.
And then I think he acted.
But do you think that in the moments when he said, Kaceytron's being sincere, don't attack Kaceytron, we understand her plight, we understand what's going on, do you think that was part of the kind of like wink wink gloating, or do you think that he was being sincere when he was trying to tell his audience
someone was running over here?
If he wasn't being sincere, you got another problem there, right? Because then he's winking and saying to his audience, you should continue to do this.
No. I think he was being sincere. Like, you can both things can be true. Both things, like, he can be gloating, and at the same time he can, like, have
not want people to harass her
in himself in the moment to dissuade like future harassment.
But I recognize that there's a difference in terms of whether something is a lie. If there's a kind of general understanding that this is some kind of farce or display where you're not expected to believe it, but you don't think that he was trying to do that with respect to his statements about, guys, Kaceytron, I believe this is a very sincere apology, very nice apology. Don't go after her. You think when he did that? No, I think that wasn't that, right? That wasn't him being insincere. He was being sincere, wasn't he?
No, I think that was him trying to be responsible in terms of like moderating his community.
Nice.
So was he being sincere?
Gotcha.
Maybe, probably. I don't know. I think, like, listen, I don't know Ethan that well, to be honest with you. I don't really know, like, I can't speak to his character, but I have seen him in the past demonstrate sympathy for people, even people that he didn't like. So for all I know, in that moment, like, he can, but like I said,
Denims is a fraud.
Things can be happening at the same time. So he can feel a sense of satisfaction that he got, like justice was served. Like, there were consequences for bad behavior that negatively impacted him, his wife, his family. And at the same time, he can also have a part of him that wanted to be like responsible with his moderating of his community in that moment to prevent the war or whatever from blowing up even further. Like, he can be motivated by multiple things at the same time.
So when you say he can be motivated by things, it's very important, right? And I'm not trying to just be like super anal about how we use the words, but it really matters. Like, when we say can, like, I will always grant that it can be the case if what you mean by can is it doesn't entail a logical contradiction, right? So if you ask me, isn't it possible that Ethan could have two motives? I'm going to say, yes, it is possible, by which I mean it is not entailing a logical contradiction. But so you just have to be very, very careful when you say that, because I'm going to, every time you say that, going to say, if by possible, do you mean logically possible? If by can, do you mean it entails
a contradiction? It is logically possible. I'll say it that way.
Absolutely.
It is logically possible to be...
Okay. It's plausible
and show sympathy for your, conquered
you should say it's plausible
at the same time.
What I'm telling you is it's logically possible for you to be able to jump to the moon right now.
No,
all we mean by logical possible.
What? No, it's not. What are you talking about? How is that logically possible?
because the definition of logical possibility, the modality of possibility we're talking about there, is specifically about whether or not there's a contradiction entailed by it. So I would be, when I say something like,
I feel like I
Ethan
would be
couldn't-
contradicting the laws of physics by
right. So that's like a different, like, if you take as given the laws of physics, then you can establish a contradiction in that the laws of physics. Okay,
I do.
I know, but what?
Yeah.
But then you're introducing some these kind of rules of physics and these external rules that aren't necessitated by the situation itself. And so that's why it matters to talk about this, because what people will hear when you say, isn't it possible that Ethan Klein has two motives? And I answer yes to that is, oh, well, he just gave the game away, because he's saying that it's possible to have two motives.
No, I'm giving you my best answer. But I'm in the absence of certainty, because I have not personally reached out to Ethan and asked him like what motivated you in that moment. So I don't know, but like
Have you reached out to Trump and asked him the motivations about his malicious acts?
What is this non sequitur bullshit?
Trump. Guys,
are you suggesting that I should have?
I want to make sure. I want to inoculate myself against that. When I made the comparison to Trump, I wasn't saying Ethan is like Trump. It's a comparison.
But it's like you're demanding that I have certainty, and I don't. I'm giving you my vibe, my best guess from my observation.
That's not. I'm not asking you to say 100%.
Yeah, but you are, though, because I say it's possible, and you're like, well, then like you don't have you have an issue with me saying it's possible.
No, because I can't prove to
How
you
did that
right
swallow
now that you're not
me?
a brain in a vat, that Ethan doesn't actually exist, that you're just a figment of my imagination. Like, there's so much that I cannot prove 100%, right? Like, I can't prove that 100% that we live on a sphere. By 100%, we mean to an epistemic certainty. So.
Do you like oh my god, the way Pisco's talking makes me want to fucking kill myself, bro. Shut up, Pisco, shut up. Yeah, no shit. You're talking about plausibility here. Act like a normal human.
Understand what I'm saying here is we're stepping way back to talk about like possibility in the abstract. And
no,
the only
you
reason
are.
I'm doing this,
You're debate broing me right now.
No,
like,
bro, he is debate broing him hard.
It's really not an attempt to debate bro, because what will happen is you'll ask, isn't it possible that Ethan has two motivations?
This person in Hutch's chat said, did Pisco just take philosophy 101?
I say no.
True.
I sound ridiculous because of course people can have mixed motives, right? Of course,
you don't think that.
Possible.
Why don't we skip to that? You don't think that. You don't think that. What do you think? What do you think?
Right. So I just, this is really important. I want to clarify when I say he doesn't have mixed motive. I'm not saying it's impossible for a person to have mixed motive. I'm saying the evidence that we have is, I think, strong that this motivation, the particular motivation that I'm citing, isn't what's actually motivating. But before we get into that, because I do want to get into that, I just want to like get an agreement. If he did lie about Kaceytron's apology and whether it was sincere, are you suggesting that you would say that that was good to do?
If the purpose of the lie was to prevent harassment, for example, would you say that that would be bad?
I think that that if you felt that an apology on anti-Semitism, on whether or not it was right to invoke Asmongold's mother, whether or not you're apologizing to your very employees, that you are eliciting a known insincere apology, why? To protect an insincere person, would you make that? If you were a principled person, I would say, yeah, I don't want you to lie to your audience about whether the apology is sincere based on your feeling that you have to like protect someone who's being insincere. Does that make sense?
But if again, you're not indulging my hypothetical. Would it be wrong to lie if you're, as a creator, if your intention is to dissuade your audience from like brigading Kaceytron streams and replies?
At some level of danger to Kaceytron's health and security, then yes, I think that it's okay to lie. If otherwise she would get killed or assaulted or attacked or some shit like that.
Harassed.
And it's like,
or harassed and brigaded.
No, not that. I do not think at the scale we're talking about here, which is public criticism. All right. I also love this kind of like deflation of the word harassment. That means anytime you get like a bunch of comments, negative comments and shit and negative attention, by that logic, like I'm harassed constantly all the time by everybody.
I'm sure you are.
harassment, like when I understand harassment to be, and it's not just like it is a specific wrongful act.
What
that puts you
Denims
in, like,
did.
fear for your
What Denims
privacy
did was
or the
actual
fear of,
harassment.
like, that you're about to be in.
It's what BadEmpanada does.
Someone's gonna stalk you, shit like that. Not mere criticism because you did a bad thing. Like it's not harassment that we say Trump is a piece of shit or Hexit needs to go to jail, or we say that all, like, I understand these are public figures, but same thing.
They're not,
on
yeah,
Denims.
not the same thing at all, bro.
On Hasan Piker, right? Like when Hasan Piker is lying about Israel or Gaza or whatever that you think he's lying about, you wouldn't be like, okay, criticizing that as harassment, right? If he's doing misconduct, if he's being insincere, and you criticize
starting
it,
to get annoyed.
there.
Just criticism is not harassment, but if it's organized brigading, if it's organized brigading, if you're
by which you mean what? Like that?
What do you mean? You don't know the term? You know what brigading means? Come on, like if it's
meaning like sending your people over to their.
Why is Pisco being so autistic about this?
It doesn't even necessarily need to be like orchestrated by the creator. It could be something that just arises.
I don't think that. Yes, to answer your question, no, I don't think that the fear of brigading is enough to justify lying to your audience.
I don't know. I think that's
about an insincere apology.
But you're motivated. But
who the fuck cares? What the fuck is Pisco saying right now?
You're motivated by a desire to like prevent harm or limit harm. How could that be immoral? Because you're lying.
First of all, I think that his motivation is to try to.
It could be immoral for sure.
Further, to justify his position in the lawsuit and to justify the negative statements made about Hasan Piker. So I don't even buy, or at this point I don't have a good inference that he's really motivated to protect Kaceytron's well-being, and part of that is because of the way he talks about Kaceytron's financial situation, which I find reprehensible, but we can get into that in a second.
He can be petty,
but
he can be petty.
I just want to say that if it were the case that Kaceytron is being insincere in her apology, and Ethan Klein knows her to be insincere, you would say,
I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this.
For Ethan to lie about that.
I don't think it's necessarily bad.
But given the facts that we have here, if under current understandings of the fact, right, your own interpretation of the facts as you know it, if you found out and Ethan said to you, you know what, Hutch, I was lying, I don't think it's sincere, what would you say to that?
Don't care.
You don't care about the
no.
See, this is why so I'm not going to spend a lot of time.
Don't care. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think he was even if I indulged your version of it.
Not really,
let's say he's just all it is just him doing a backhanded like victory lap. I don't care.
Okay, so that's why I lead with this stuff. If you don't care about whether or not he lied about her sincerity or insincerity on the apology, then I'm not going to spend a bunch of time. Even if I could establish that she lied, which actually I will ask you about, that you would think if you're not going to condemn it, right? I'm not going to spend a bunch of time wasting why you should, right? Like you're saying basically it's okay for him to lie about the sincerity of the apology, even if it's not true. For him to tell his audience it is true.
If you think that I have some kind of moral obligation to condemn him for lying in that spot in this hypothetical, you would have to convince me that the consequences that Kaceytron experienced were not commensurate with the way that she contributed to what happened with Ethan and Hila and all that. Like you would have to say, because earlier in the conversation you said that you didn't think it was necessarily immoral to bring litigation against someone but be motivated by some other kind of grievance. You said that wasn't necessarily immoral, right?
Yeah, so I think that there could be motivations that aren't necessarily that it doesn't necessarily make it immoral. That's correct. I was giving some stylized examples, but we'll get into the facts about the lawsuit. But I just want to resolve this issue of lying.
No, but then this conversation needs.
When Ethan says he believes Kaceytron's apology to him is genuine, and so don't harass her, whether or not he's lying, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Why? This is the most nitpicky, retarded thing I've ever heard Pisco talk about. Like, what is this?
It needs to be about, like, do you think that Ethan bringing litigation was too far of a response to how Kaceytron and Frogan and Denims and that whole community contributed to the CPS call and the harassment that Ethan and Hila got?
Right. So, I mean, the case, you're basically asking me, do you think the lawsuits are justified? That's what you're asking me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to get into that, but I just want to deal with why.
Could it be justified? Is that an appropriate?
By could you mean could I see some possible world that doesn't entail a contradiction in which it could be justified?
Pisco is actually being like an insane ultimate debate bro right now. This is so funny because he's like motivated by his audience to fucking like suckle the lefty teat, but he doesn't want to like grift fully in front of Hutch, so he's trying to like walk the line. It's impossible, dude. It's not possible.
The answer is yes, but again,
But do you think that? That's no. But do you think that?
No, I don't think it's. I think under the circumstances, given the nature of the lies and what's actually motivating it, I do not think that they're justified.
I mean, how do you feel about like just like? How do you feel about the collective communities that they had piling on about the CPS stuff? Like, how do you feel about that? And then the lack of moderation.
Right,
how do you feel about that?
Question. Like,
but that's a really important question. Like, how do you feel about that?
So depending on the conduct, I of course condemn it. If what they're doing is advocating for or celebrating, for example, calling CPS on those facts, I condemn that. If they're, for example, let's say it's something weird like refusing to condemn the death of a political, the assassination or something, I would condemn that.
Let's just talk about what happened. Let's just talk about what happened. Like they made a mockery of it.
I can think of a bunch of situations where failure to moderate is something that I would condemn.
No, but
it is concerning behavior.
I just want your thoughts on this specific.
Pisco's grifting here. There's no way he's so focused about Ethan lying when he says not to harass people. Yeah, there's no fucking way that Pisco cares this much. He just needs a reason to like. I mean, there are plenty of valid reasons to dislike Ethan Klein, but this is like ridiculous. The whatever the fuck he's trying to do right now, bro.
Big thing. Like, do you not think that do you not think that action that they did, that the way that they participated in the whole CPS thing?
What did they do?
I already laid it out for you.
What do you mean, what did they do? Why does he need him to define this? Like, everyone knows. It's very obvious. They were, like, harassing the fuck out of the guy. Like, what? This is so bad faith from Pisco right now.
We talked about that before. They enabled it. They enabled it. They were wildly irresponsible.
100%. If Pisco tries to claim otherwise, you know he is either full of shit or is talking so far out of his ass that he needs to just never talk about this topic again. There's no way he's going to defend the behavior of Kaceytron and Denims. There's no fucking way, dude. No way.
At best, and they were maliciously egging it on at worst. And in the case of Denims, I think
they're culpable.
Denims especially.
You think that they're culpable?
Yes. Denims is 100% culpable. Absolutely. 1000%. Yes.
What happened?
Unequivocally.
I think they're all like jointly culpable. Yeah.
Denims is the most. Denims and then like BadEmpanada, but he's not one of the people being sued, right? But if you're going Frogan, Denims, and Kaceytron, Denims is by far the most culpable. Without a shadow of a doubt.
All have a part to play in that. Yeah. When you don't take any meaningful action to moderate your community, when you can see plain as day what's going on in your chat, when you're making jokes about it after the fact, like why are you joking about it after the fact? Like that.
Well, presumably if you're joking about it after the fact and only after the fact, how do we know that there's a causal connection at all?
But there wasn't. Denims literally said that someone should call Child Protective Services to check on Ethan's children. It was a call to action. It doesn't get more clear than that. What the fuck is Pisco saying?
Between what occurred and the community. I can imagine a bunch of people laughing at shit that they had no. So I'll give you an example, right? There are some Democrats who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. Agreed? Yes or no?
Some randoms on Twitter. Yeah. What the fuck? Who cares?
Yes. Like randos on Twitter. Sure. Yeah.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
Are those people culpable for Charlie Kirk's death?
Well, no, but those people didn't. I don't even want to like say the hypothetical, the comparison, but like those people weren't calling for someone to go kill Charlie Kirk. Like what? Denims was calling for people to call Child Protective Services on the Kleins. Like that's undeniable. It's on video. Like
no, but that's not the same thing at all. Wait, hang on a second.
True, because Pisco's either an absolute moron or completely bad faith. I'm pretty sure he's being bad faith here. But it's hard to tell.
A comparison.
No,
it's
but
an analogy.
No, but this would only be analogous if they were all in message boards where they were talking about potentially unaliving Charlie Kirk. That would be analogous.
So what you need to show, don't you, is a causal relationship between their conduct incriminatory act and the act itself, don't you?
The CPS.
I don't know, bro. Pisco's dumbass these days. I mean, true.
This call happened shortly after Denims did her stream where she platformed a BadEmpanada video where he was making the case that CPS should be called. and she made no meaningful, she like maybe she made some, but like she did not go nearly far enough in terms of moderating her. If I was her, first of all, why is she watching that video? Why is she platforming BadEmpanada? Why is she watching a video with this guy who is tacitly encouraging his audience to call CPS? Do you agree that that's wildly irresponsible as a creator?
Absolutely.
To watch a BadEmpanada video?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, what the fuck is wrong? Dude, the fact if Hutch is still friends with this fucking grifting moron, then that makes me respect Hutch a little bit less, because Pisco is so full of shit here. He is so clearly full of shit here.
To watch a not in a vacuum, to watch a BadEmpanada video of him making the case for why the viewer should maybe call CPS.
Is it a good thing to do?
Is it irresponsible is what I said.
Should she do it? I think the answer is no.
Should she do it? That's not the fucking question, moron.
I don't think she should do it.
Why?
But that's not.
But why though?
But that doesn't. Hang on, because I think
but the why matters. The why
Why is he doing this tiptoeing shit? Like, he's obviously full of shit, dude.
matters.
Yes,
Why?
I'm about to wait. I'm answering that. Did you hear me answering that? I said.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't think it's good, because if you are, watching a video in which these kinds of, bad things are being expressed, all else equal, without any pushback, potentially that could, encourage a risk or something of something occurring.
Yes.
But hang on a second.
What thing? But what thing?
But hang on one second. Do you have
my
evidence
fucking god. Fuck you,
Denims knew
Pisco.
what was in the video before she watched it? Yes or no?
I don't know off the top of my head, but she kept watching it. That's not the point. She kept watching it.
She not only watched it, she literally called for people to call CPS on Ethan Klein. Like, that happened. It's on fucking video. Like I wonder if Hutch doesn't remember that or hasn't seen it or what, but
She could have turned it off the second he brought that up and said, whoa, this is way too far. I don't co-sign this.
The answer is no. You don't have any evidence that she knew the contents of the video.
Why would you skip over? No, she continued to watch it, dude. She indulged the logic.
I just want to do it one step at a time. So you don't have any evidence.
He wants to griff one step at a time, Hutch. Give him a second.
Correct, that she knew what was in the video.
I think you're trying to worm out of the logical conclusion that you just jumped to. I think you're trying to worm out of the logical conclusion that you just jumped to, which is that
Jesus Christ.
The reason why it's irresponsible for someone to do that in her position is because, as you said, the risk goes way up that somebody in her community might act on that.
But here's the thing.
So how is she not culpable?
Hey, so it's an attenuated risk.
He's trying so hard to find a way to fucking thread this needle, and it's just not possible. Like, you dipshit. Like, what the fuck? Oh, man. Good God.
It's an attenuated risk that is not at all sufficient for culpability. Not even 1%, not even close to 1%, Hutch. The mere acting and watching of a video.
It's not the watching of a fucking video. It's the fact that she watched it and then encouraged people to call CPS. I'm just going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care. I don't know if Hutch knows it or not.
That encourages bad stuff. Now you are culpable for things that might result from watching
culpable.
a video.
They're all partly culpable. All of them are. Yes.
That you would apply this standard
100%.
to
Not
any
even close.
other commentator who watches something.
Of course.
Of course he would. Why would he say this? Hello?
I do.
Bro.
No. I have a consistent.
This is he's grifting so fucking hard right now, and it's disgusting, to be honest.
It's me. Ask my chat if I moderate. Ask my chat if I moderate. I take steps all the time. I tell my chat explicitly all the time. Don't brigade. I do all there's certain red lines that I understand that me as a creator, as someone with a following, as someone who could potentially influence someone, I do think that I have a responsibility to use that influence responsibly.
Culpable. It doesn't make you culpable.
It doesn't make you 100% culpable, but you are partly culpable. Yes. And
absolutely. Especially when you call for someone to do something and then they do it. What is blood yapping about at 7 a.m.? Oh, all sorts of shit.
At the very least,
here's a question for you, Hutch. If you're saying that Charlie Kirk has blood on his hands, this is before he's killed. Charlie Kirk is a fascist. Charlie Kirk is trying to overturn the democracy of our country. He's instituting these horrible things. And
you're doing the Republican thing now. That's what you're doing. You're doing the thing.
True, he is doing the thing.
Talking point. Why do you think I'm bringing that up, Hutch?
Because there's a difference. Their observations is not the same as this at all.
Hutch,
it's a bad faith. It's a bad faith situation.
So I'm gonna apply. I'm not gonna be deterred from bringing up this example. The question stands. The question is as follows:
Deterred?
If
What the
you,
fuck
as a
is
creator,
Blood
are
talking
platforming
about?
a video, you're watching a video in which someone says Charlie Kirk has blood on his hands. He's allowing and encouraging criminal actions from the administration, and honestly, I think that he's a fascist, and there should be no moral consideration for Charlie Kirk whatsoever.
Hold on.
I'm going to finish the question, Hutch.
I have a video. I just want you to watch a video. I just want you to watch a video.
No. You can I'm asking.
Pisco knows that the video.
Watch the video after
Pisco knows that the video is gonna fucking cook his argument alive. Holy shit!
I get an answer and then we address it.
Okay.
I will definitely. Don't worry about it, right? So if it's the case that you have someone who's watching a video of someone else saying Charlie Kirk has blood on his hands, he should have no moral consideration, and he kind of doesn't do anything, he just kind of watches it. Ends up Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. Someone comes up to you, Hutch, and said, "You are culpable. You watched this insane video in which he says no moral consideration should be given to Charlie Kirk. You don't actually believe it, and you didn't do any pushback in that moment."
Did the person in the video?
Let me finish the question. Would that person who watched that video without any pushback on the notion that Charlie Kirk deserves no moral consideration, he didn't push back there, he let that stand, would that person be culpable for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, yes or no?
Did the video that was watched, I need to ask you about the video that this hypothetical video. In the hypothetical video that I watched, did the creator of that video suggest that someone should it's explicitly suggest that someone should unalive Charlie Kirk?
No. He says he deserves no moral consideration. Whatever happens to him is justified.
That's too abstract. Then no, there's no culpability there. This is not abstract though. In the case of Denims, it's not abstract.
Hang on a second. Don't you agree that there's a risk that someone could get the wrong impression? Isn't there?
That standard is way too high.
Hang on a second.
You agree with me that there's a spectrum. You agree with me that there's a spectrum, right?
What I'm trying to prove is, what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is the mere fact that there's an increased risk does not imply that there is culpability. The volitional acts of others cut off
a lot
the
worse
causal
than
chains
that,
we imply
Pisco.
culpability. Even if it's the case that you have dangerous rhetoric, such that it's possible there's a risk. You agree, don't you? By the way, that Destiny, I think, has been based on a lot of his assessments of the double standard and hypocrisy of MAGA. Would you deny that there is a risk that him saying and refusing to condemn at times, sometimes he does condemn it, but at times refusing to condemn carries risk of this?
If the MCU got an Overwatch clone, I think the AMU should get its own. What's AMU?
Assassination. Does it carry risk?
You kind of lost me there.
Yes, of course. So when Destiny refuses to condemn the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I am telling you that he's inconsistent on it. Sometimes he condemns it, but there are moments.
I've talked all the time about how I think his rhetoric.
They're both little cucks on this topic, frankly, but
that stuff is way too
alpha male universe.
All of a sudden, there's a
who's this inconsistent?
All of a sudden, there's a Republican who's killed, and they even cite Destiny because no moral consideration. There needs to be equality, whatever. That would be, you would not say Destiny's culpable there, would you?
No.
You're
and it's also he's equating not condemning something to the active calling for something completely different.
You are fucking debate perverting me right now.
He is debate perverting.
I just want you to watch a video. I just want you to watch a video. We don't need to do the hypotheticals, please.
No. We actually do.
He is such a debate bro, dude. Holy shit.
But you're not proposing something that is analogous, dude. These are not analogous. It's not like, if this then that.
You need to explain the disanalogy then, because what I provided you said,
then
right?
Let me ask you a question. You've asked me like 5 questions, bro. Let me ask you a question. Would you, if you were watching a video and then the creator of the video, in the video that you're watching, suggested that someone should unalive Tim Pool, would you continue to watch the video?
I would condemn that. I'm just telling. That's why. And I would say,
would you continue to watch the video?
Yeah, I might continue to watch the video. I watch unhinged people say unhinged things all the time. Now,
this is a bad art.
You would turn
I don't like this.
off.
I don't like this line of argument from Hutch very much. This isn't very good. It's okay to keep watching the video. The problem with what Denims did in particular is the fact that she actively called for people to call child protective services on Ethan Klein, which is so fucking unhinged.
Come on, bro. You would turn it off. There's TOS considerations.
Are you shitting me?
You don't think you would turn that off?
If I saw a video in which someone is making a threat of violence, you think I would automatically turn the video
Oh,
off?
we already won
If
the
somebody
point.
made a specific call to action, you would be banned in like a second if you didn't turn it off, right?
Wait, the mere listening to it?
No.
Yes.
Hutch is
you
wrong
can't-
here.
I've never heard of that TOS.
Okay. You've never heard
Wait,
you've never heard of
maybe
TOS
this is news to me.
for a call to action to like a specific call
If
to
an
action to
individual-
hurt someone or harm someone?
If an individual is endorsing it, but just merely watching the video?
Yes, every platform that you're on, basically. If you're watching a video that says someone
if-
should really go on a live Tim Pool and you didn't stop watching
And
it,
I condemn
you
that?
would be-
Can
Wait,
Hutch
hang on.
stop saying
you
it,
would
please?
be banned if
So
you didn't
I'm-
turn that
Before
off,
I get
right?
fucking banned, I just started my
I'm not
YouTube
convinced of
stream.
That. If I've
King
watched,
OC
hang on,
West
give me one
Watson
second,
Tate
Give me one
Zirkin.
second.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Chat, I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of that? Like, I've watched unhinged people like say crazy things. Well, like we consider and we've analyzed, for example, Trump's incitement theories under both legal, and we've watched the videos and stuff. We watched
You
Jan
got me-
6 videos where
You got me shouting, so I need some fucking water.
oh, no worries.
If you
So,
were watching a
I never
video
heard
where
of
somebody
that.
said, you know what, I really fucking Tim
I'm not
Pool is just
tanking,
the
fuck
worst,
this.
and
I'm good.
you know somebody definitely needs to go and unalive him, right? You would continue to
If we
watch
were-
that?
Yeah, if I was analyzing it and saying this is a true threat, this is an example of a true threat. I'll give you another example, right?
But you said
In
you
the
would
Hasan-
specifically condemn it, right?
Yeah, I mean it depends on the context. Like if
Why?
I think what's because I do think that potentially there could be, if I just let it play and don't specifically address it, I think that there could be action by Twitch. But again, just because there's action by Twitch or there's a risk for my channel doesn't mean that I'm accepting culpability if something bad happens. I just want to be clear about the distinction there. And second, I do think that there's a moral responsibility to condemn these acts of violence or even acts, for example, of deception or whatever. And I think that there's a potential risk and you should minimize risk where possible. Here's the difference, right? Mitigation of risk and an
Trend
obligation
Twins
to
would be
avoid
on a
risk
team.
doesn't equal culpability if something bad ends up happening after the fact.
I've never heard of
And
the
this is
AMU, bro.
easily- You can understand that if you just apply any.
Pretty
of the
sure they're not
comparisons that I
relevant
talked about,
anymore.
That no one.
Everyone
in the
you just
context that I
listed.
provided, that you're examining someone saying some unhinged shit about Charlie Kirk, and then all of a sudden, oops, someone kills him. No one could ever come to a lib creator and you would defend. You would say, "This is insane." You know, he was watching a video of someone else doing it.
No,
he
but what
wasn't
if-
doing it.
What if I could show you a video of Denims herself saying that somebody should call CPS on Ethan?
Go for it. I would say that's independently bad. Yeah.
Okay. Apparently
Yeah.
there's a video.
There is. I've said this 20 times
It's
now.
on my stream. Just pull up my stream.
Why aren't they listening?
Can you share it on Discord?
Yes. Hold on.
Oh,
You acting like I have like a problem condemning Denims or Hasan.
We're
or,
getting
Come
into all
on,
these
dude, just fucking nail me.
hypotheticals, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think they're
It's to
culpable, and
establish
I think
principles. Hutch, why do you think I'm doing this? I'm doing this because I don't want you. I love you. I love you, my boy.
No, you're
to
doing this because-
weasel out and be like,
because
"There's
he's
no
afraid of
fucking
his
listen."
community
you're
of
doing this
lefties.
to avoid the possibility that these creators did something that was extremely
Hell
harmful.
no.
Yeah, he is. He
if
is.
they advocated for
Hutch is
CPS,
spot
I'm
on.
telling you right now, I'm going to condemn that.
Okay, well,
Even,
I'm
if,
just.
even by the way, just to let you know.
Well, let
even
me
if
watch
they're
the clip.
kinda-
Let me just watch the clip. Hold on. I'm pressing
Yeah, sure.
play. I'm pressing play.
No, but I'm telling you in
house.
advance. I don't even need to see the clip. I will see the clip.
I
I'm
want to
just
see the
telling you in
clip.
advance. If they laugh about it after the fact, I'll condemn that too. Guess what? It doesn't resolve the issue.
But you don't. Okay, hold on. Let me watch the clip. I'm done talking for a second. Hold on.
Shit in their house. And
Not
then
getting yield.
Denims should
Oh, well.
host this and see what she says. And then now we wonder why people are calling Child Protective Services.
But they called it before I even did this stream.
All relevant slayers of Gash, don't ever disrespect them
He
like
lets
that
his
again.
dogs shit all over his
I don't
mansion,
think
just-
so,
and he
man.
Just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like
Yeah, guys,
covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it, or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something. But they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Oh, it was Denim's chat that was saying called
I hope you're
CPS.
not going to
Dude,
hold on.
How is it
strict
that, like,
liability for what
maybe
your chat
once a
says?
week
That's
I-
insane. And you're
You're
never going to defend that
nuts.
standard.
You're not. You don't think. Hang on. If your chat was spamming,
It wasn't just
Hang
his
on,
chat,
if
it
your
was
chat
Denims
was spamming,
herself.
call the cops on Rob Noor. You wouldn't tell them to not call the cops. You wouldn't
That's
step
not what I
in.
said. Wait. That is not what
Do
I
you have
said,
a
Hutch.
responsibility?
I didn't say that I wouldn't. Hutch,
as a creator?
yes, that doesn't mean you're culpable. Yes, that doesn't mean you're culpable. Do you understand
Of
the
course
difference
it
there?
does.
Just
What do you
because
mean?
you have a no, it fucking doesn't. If someone ends up, so you're saying if I failed to do my due diligence in like saying and giving an affirmative thing, hey guys, I don't agree with this, and you shouldn't call the cops on Rob Noor. If I don't do that, and if I just let it play out, either because I don't see it or because I'm negligent, because I'm just fucking twiddling my thumbs.
No.
You think I have culpability for some
That's
shithead
not
who
what I
does
said
that?
though. Let me
What
give
the
you a
fuck?
hypothetical. You love hypotheticals. Let me give you a hypothetical.
Yeah,
Okay?
I do love it. Yeah.
Let's say all of us on Live and Learn, okay? You, me, Soy Pill, and IRI. We all watch the same video independently with our own viewers, okay? And in that video,
Did we finish the point? I wasn't paying attention. Who cares?
somebody makes a claim, and then like all of our chats are like spamming, you know, like somebody needs to call the cops on Rob Noor, okay?
Yeah.
And then somebody calls, and we don't do anything. We don't police it at all. And then somebody calls the cops on
This
Rob Noor.
backseat Andy.
Are none of us culpable, or are all of us
None of you are
culpable?
culpable.
None
You're
of
not
us are culpable?
That's crazy. Why is Pisco biting this bullet? Is he really trying to get in with these fucking
No,
communities?
the culpable.
Well, no, it's just that his audience is into these communities, and so he's sucking them off. So is PewDiePie probably responsible for that one shooting where the dude said to sub to him? No, because PewDiePie didn't call for anyone to do anything. That's the compare. They're talking about when someone called Child Protective Services on Ethan Klein because Denims watched a video saying that someone needed to do it, and then Denims herself said that someone needed to do that, and then someone in her audience did do that. So they're arguing, Hutch is arguing that Denims is culpable for that, which I think is very fucking obviously true. And Pisco's trying to argue against that somehow.
Is the parties that encouraged it, explicitly with their intention, their active intention to do so, and those who did it. That's what's
Okay.
that is the
I mean, we
culpable
just have like a major philosophical
Yeah,
difference
that's
between
wait,
like,
wait,
Pisco's out of his fucking
responsible
mind.
content creation, because
So I want to so I want you to apply this standard, the standard that you're just setting out. Anytime that because there have been left-wing acts of violence, and there are chats that will talk about this kind of shit, saying, you know, these people should. These people exist.
yeah,
know
of course,
these people
yeah, of
exist.
course,
And,
yeah.
and you would never say, well, because you failed to moderate your unhinged chat, as opposed to saying, okay, you have a responsibility to upkeep it. I would agree with that, no doubt. But
I
that you're
think like
culpable for the
once
actions?
that's
That's insane. That's strict liability for what your fucking chat does.
maybe
It's
we're
for
getting
what you
hung up
tell
on
your
the term.
chat to do.
But I think like at minimum, you could say that you, through your inaction and through your tacit endorsement, really, of what BadEmpanada was saying in that video, and then you like ignoring your chat, like multiple people in your chat, and you have mods, like you're.
This is a
looking
bad argument from Hutch, but Hutch hasn't seen the part of the video where Denims herself calls for it.
She looks at her chat constantly. She chose to not like do anything about those comments in that moment. Like at that point, you have contributed to.
Wait a second. I'm not talking about legal culpability. I am talking about ethical culpability.
Yes, of course you're ethically.
No, I'm seeing people in the chat, so I'm only talking about ethical culpability. But go ahead.
This is a major philosophical difference between you and me. I think if you are a creator and you're seeing specific calls to action, especially something as serious as government intervention on somebody that you don't like, you have a responsibility to step in at that point and say, guys, this is way too far. Right? Excuse me?
Otherwise, you're culpable?
Otherwise, you have contributed to like that event happening in some small way, or you could, at the very least, potentially have done it. The reality is, we can't know who made that call. Was it someone from Hasan's audience? Was it someone from her audience? Was it someone from Kaceytron's audience? We don't know. But in a general sense,
of your burden to show that they are culpable. You just because it's hard to find evidence of the particular thing that shows culpability doesn't relieve you of your responsibility to show it.
When I say culpable, do you hear like 100% responsible?
No, I would hear morally culpable for the thing occurring. That's what I understand.
There's a shared culpability.
It's almost like objectively true.
I think you're using that like uncertainty about where the call came from as a means to just like deflect all responsibility. Like you're saying that they had no ethical obligation to moderate their own chat as they're like making suggestions to call CPS, which is wild to me.
what you're culpable for is what you did wrong. What you did wrong was failure to moderate appropriately your chat. What you're not culpable for is actually fucking calling CPS.
If you were in Ethan's shoes, just try to imagine, okay?
No, that's not. No, so
Denims literally called for it herself, by the way. I'm just going to keep saying
if I
it.
accept all of Ethan's priors, if I take his point of view, we're not talking about from his lights. Does he think it's justified? He's doing it.
No, but I'm asking you to just imagine, like,
yeah,
who would you have blamed? Do you think you could understand blaming like the whole pool of creators that were all dogpiling and encouraging it and joking about it, laughing about it, even
blaming
encouraging
them
it?
for what?
Blaming them for the
ridiculing me?
fucking
Yes.
for CPS showing up
No,
at your house.
No, that's unhinged.
That's
what the
unhinged.
Republicans did.
No, you would.
That's what Republicans did. So I want to hear you say it then. So I'm going to give you.
You'd be like,
another
well,
example.
we can never know, so I can't
gonna
blame
give you
any
another
of
example.
them. You would not do
So-
that, bro.
If your community actively encourages doxing and you fail to moderate that doxing, and then doxing in fact occurs, is the streamer culpable for doxing?
I'll tell you what
Can you answer
how
first?
I would feel.
Doxing isn't illegal, so this is a bad comparison. But if you're saying morally culpable, then yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Hang on, I'm telling you exactly. I'm telling you exactly. Like I'm imagine me, right? And I found out that somebody in my community doxed someone. And there was a thing that maybe we missed, like I was looking away from chat or something like that. I would feel responsible.
I'm not going to be distracted. I'm giving you an example.
I'm giving you an answer.
No, you didn't answer that question. You said what you would do, that you would feel responsible if some other shit happened, even when you were negligent. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a situation in which the community doxes, you're aware of it, and you don't moderate it. Intentionally, you don't moderate. You see it's there, and you don't moderate it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the streamer culpable for the doxing?
I think they are partly responsible. Yes.
Okay, so it's a standard you would apply that the mere non-moderation decisions,
Yes,
as to your community, gives you culpability for the attacks, however attenuated, that might occur because you fail to moderate your community, even though those
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and those wrong. Okay,
I can't believe that. I'm a bit incredulous right now because you seem to be.
Yeah, he's grifting, and Hutch realizes it. Maybe he's coping by saying he's incredulous here. Doesn't want to accept that Pisco's full of shit here, but he obviously is.
In what sense?
You seem to be totally closed off to the possibility that a streamer has any reasonable expectation of being responsible in their moderation.
Oh, that's
He has to be, because he's fucking defending Denims and fucking Kaceytron. Of course this is the moral position he has to hold. It's like not optional.
Because what's the point of moderation?
Hutch, I literally said the opposite. So I want to be clear
what's
that
the point? What's the point of moderation?
First, I'm going to establish that what you just represented is literally the opposite of what I said. So you heard me, didn't you, when I said that there is a responsibility to moderate? You heard that?
But did
you hear that?
What's the point of the?
So I'm asking you if you heard me.
I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying, because what you're saying is.
You heard it when I said it.
Dude, he's being such a douchebag too. Holy shit.
Hang on. What you're saying is contradictory to me, because otherwise, well, what is the point of moderation then?
So I just want to make self-standing
Can you answer that question?
I will.
Yes, I heard you. Yes, I heard you. Okay. What's the point of moderation?
There's self-standing obligations to moderate.
Sounds good for Goose. God bless.
A streamer, I think, has
Be safe.
There's a low cost of compliance, and where there are obvious potential, benefits to a low cost compliance incident. The fact that you have a self-standing obligation to mitigate risk, I'm going to repeat it and make sure you hear it. So I'm going to say it twice. That you violated your duty to moderate does not mean you are culpable for actions that underlie it.
If you're not culpable,
oh my God. I mean, so you understand that there are two obligations, right?
What you're saying makes no sense, because if you're saying you're there to mitigate risk.
Yeah, if you're not responsible for the result of a failure to moderate, then there is no responsibility in the first place.
But you're not culpable if something happens. Well, then what the fuck are you?
What's the contradiction?
What risk?
What's the contradiction?
What risk are you mitigating?
True.
Yeah. So the risk that you're mitigating does pertain potentially to later on events, but that doesn't.
What
mean
does that mean, dude? Come on, don't say events. Okay. Risk of what?
Of either bad conduct, malicious conduct, whatever is responsible, or whatever's down the line.
By who?
Absolutely. So I just want to make sure that you understand the distinction here. Do you understand a distinction between a duty to mitigate risk, that is by properly moderating, and the culpable actions of intentional people who are doing the thing. And the reason I'm asking this of you is if you don't understand that difference, I think that there's like a...
All right. Since I've said it like 20 times and they're not talking about it, I'm just going to show the video. Let me find it.
Yeah.
No. Is it in this video or is it somewhere else? Let's actually go.
Shit in their house. And then
He lets housekeeper is covered in dog shit. Obviously never heard of it in my...
And every time
The dog shit. That is all.
I look into what terrible shit. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
We already have Mold Mondays. Now we have Shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
No wonder his house is
This is
covered
brain
in
dead,
dog
by the
shit.
way.
And his neglected children raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing...
No wonder this motherfucker's always sick. Yeah. It all makes sense now. It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own. How is this happening? How is it happening? How is this happening?
shit in their house.
That's not
And
the
then
exact clip I want, but I don't know how to even go about finding this. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. We don't have a single other DPS? Okay.
Huge issue in communication here, because just because you fail to
It is
moderate
insane.
and fail to optimally minimize risk doesn't mean that you're responsible for the volitional malicious conduct of
No,
other
you're
people.
not.
You
You're
understand
not.
that?
Obviously, listen. Whoever called CPS, that was their decision. Ultimately, they're responsible for their actions. But you seem to be like aloof to the idea that people with tremendous levels of influence, especially when we're talking about that particular shared
I'm
community.
not going to get distracted.
I'm not trying to distract you. You're
different,
acting
aren't they?
aloof to the idea that these people could potentially influence their own audience through
hang on.
action or inaction to do something like that. So is Denims 100% responsible for what happened? No, but she's partly culpable, in my opinion, because she contributed to that culture and that community and that rhetoric that led to ultimately the call happening in the first place. I can't
Yep.
give you
Okay.
like, is she
It's not
this
even arguable.
percentage to blame or that percentage? But there is a
I'll
general
say
shared
significant
culpability.
So does Denims have significant culpability for the CPS call that she did not place? That there's no evidence that I've seen her encourage.
I
before the
never
fact.
said that.
Wait. I'm just asking you the question, Hutch. Do you think that there is significant culpability by Denims?
Define
or Kaceytron?
significant. Are we talking percentages here?
That is a primitive, and I will, but I will say I'll put a percentage on it. 5% significant.
Maybe, yeah.
So you think that Denims is 5%?
At least,
I
at the
don't know.
very
I-
fucking
I
least.
have
At
no
least
way
5%
to give you
responsible.
up. Maybe, sure, yeah.
That is, and what percentage is Kaceytron responsible?
2%.
Casey-
I don't.
what?
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
So
There's
you
a-
agree? At a bare minimum, Kaceytron, as I understand it, insignificant responsibility. Fair?
No, you're missing the point. There's
Oh
a
my God.
shared culpability.
I don't know about if Kaceytron encouraged the CPS shit or not. I do know, like, Kaceytron's 100% culpable for stealing content, I guess, but I don't really give a fuck about that. But the what Denims did was very fucked, and Denims is at least 5% or 10% responsible for that. Yes.
The friend.
No, but so first of all, I don't even accept that we would apply the culpable standard to the actual act itself. We would apply a culpability to the failure to moderate and uphold the norm of moderating, but it wouldn't extend to the actual act itself. But even assuming that we would, the notion that you would put 5 or greater percentage on a call that you have no evidence that she encouraged, no evidence that
She did
knew
encourage
about
it, absolutely.
The only thing you have is chat comments that you can't prove she read. that have been provided in a video to you.
But that's risky, right?
All you have, and you're willing to say.
But that's risky,
you're willing to
right?
sit here-
You said that was
wait,
risky, right?
hang on a second. So if she knew about it, potentially.
Do you
what I'm
think
trying
it's
to-
0%?
I am trying. Oh my god, this is crazy. Wait, so I just
You
wanna
say
lay
my
out-
5% is
I'm
dumb.
gonna lay out the case.
Do
I'm
you
gonna lay
think
out the
it's
case.
0%?
So for me, it's 0%. 0% culpability for the.
Wait, but wait, you just said
Of course
a minute
it
ago
is, 'cause
that
he's
if
a
you
little
don't moderate,
grifting
there's a risk
piece
that
of
someone in
shit.
your audience could do something, right?
Correct. That doesn't mean that you're.
Then how could it be
culpable for the actual act
0%
itself.
then?
Yeah, that
It's
makes
not-
no
they're
sense.
Not the same wrong.
Oh,
You
I'm being
understand?
told.
They're not the
I'm
same
being told
wrong.
to finish the clip. Hold on, there's more to the clip.
Okay, go for it.
I already lost the clip.
This
I
moron
stopped
move.
like a minute in. Here, hold on.
We
Giardia.
already have Mode Mondays. Now we have Shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching
So I don't know if you're watching the same thing, but she's telling her audience that she's strongly implying that Ethan's children might die.
anything.
No wonder his
True.
house is covered in dog
did she say?
shit,
What did she
and
say?
his
Give me the
neglected
words.
children raised by
Like,
nannies
just
have
click to a
contracted
minute into the
parasites
video.
previously unknown to
I don't
science
know
from the
what video.
feces.
I don't see any
I
video.
put it in the Discord.
Oh, okay, one second.
I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that he said, everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing.
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah. Yeah. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense now. It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own. How is this happening? How is it happening? How?
Watch that
How
clip
is this
and try to tell me she's
happening?
0%, bro. There's no way.
Okay.
He's watching the clip, guys.
Moron. Is anyone gonna break the fucking shark? No, of course not.
I fail to see how this is encouraging someone to call CPS.
How does that not? Is
I didn't say
Pisco
that it
grifting?
encourages someone
That's
to call
crazy.
CPS. You don't
Okay.
have to. You don't have to
Help me
encourage.
out here.
Do you have to encourage someone to call CPS to contribute to the risk of someone calling it?
No.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to suss out for you is the mere, potential increase of risk. And I agree. I mean, like the mere fact that she's reporting, like even viewing the video at all, right? Even in a critical lens, might increase the risk of someone calling
We
CPS.
have an
right?
AFK.
Even if you were examining a video just to criticize it, right? Just to tear it apart. If you're a big enough streamer, that might contribute to a risk on net that you don't know everyone who follows you fucking watch it. So what I'm saying is there's a self-standing obligation to moderate 100%, but that doesn't co-extend to substantive. And here I'm not talking about legal, ethical culpability that I'm going to impose, some kind of ethical breach with respect to the substantive act that we're talking about. And the notion, and I'm going to lay it out here because I watched the whole clip, that you're going to give Denims, as you sit here, 5% or greater.
You came up with that number.
At least 5%, I'd say. I'd bite the bullet here. Abso-fucking-lutely.
You bought it, right? So the fact that I said it, you didn't have to adopt that. You didn't have to say, yes, I agree more than 5%. You didn't have to say, you asked me, what do you consider significant? I gave you a number, 5%, and you said, yes. No one put a gun to your head, Hutch, that you had to accept that number. So for you, it's chicken shit right now. For you
No,
to
but
be
you're
like,
trying to box me in. I'm not thinking about these things in like percentage points, my friend. I'm thinking about I'm at a much more top level view of things. I'm not gonna tell you 2% for Casey, 5% for this.
I mean,
my brain is not
you're
working. Your
literally
lawyer
making it
brain is going there, and I'm not with you on
So
that.
first of all, when I say significance,
Pisco's being the
5%
opposite of a
significance
lawyer. He's
threshold,
being a
that's more of like
fucking
statistical
PR
if anything,
grifter.
It's not my lawyer background. It's like my, I don't know, econ statistics background. from
No,
undergrad.
it's your
that I know that there's a
fucking
5%
streamer
significance level,
background.
1%. And so here I'm giving 5%, but I wouldn't even give 1%. So I'm being more generous and saying okay, significant
Sorry,
in this range.
I think.
I guess I'm being less generous with 5%, but I just want to be clear. So I'm going to lay it out. So you got to let me lay it out. All right.
Okay. All right.
Because you did adopt it. Unless you want to come back and say I'm not. I take back 5%. Are you going to say that?
I'm going to stick with it. I'm sticking with the 5%. In
Oh,
fact, I'm
hell
saying
yeah,
it's
own it.
specifically 5%. That's what I think.
Okay. The fact that you would say that Denims
That's what I-
deserves 5% culpability, not for failure to moderate and her norms with respect to her moderation responsibilities and her norm to minimize risk,
hold on.
which she has.
Wait, I'm going to say it's 5.25%.
Okay, greater than 5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how you're doing this right now sounds like you're kind of like being like you're trying to say that what I'm saying is ridiculous.
A little bit, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what the fuck is your point with that? How would we assess significance in any other degree? How would we supposed to? So clearly you're arguing that they, because you're not going to say that if they have insignificant responsibility that they should be punished this way. Fair. So how else am I supposed to assess their culpability in relation to what happened?
Because I think you're trying to come at it from a direction of like you're hitting it with this like degree of specificity that I don't think like I think you're using that to try to like weasel out of some pretty just obvious observations to make. Like if you were in Ethan's shoes and you couldn't know for sure like from whose community this caller came,
you would do a shotgun blunderbuss approach.
Any reasonable,
regardless of their responsibility, regardless.
No, what I'm trying to say is any reasonable person in that position would have a shared kind of like animosity or sense of blame towards just the whole group.
Even for people who
F6 took a
have
screenshot.
insignificant responsibility, that would be reasonable.
I don't think there's anything
Would it
like
be reasonable or not, Hutch?
but this is what I think you're doing with like you're using these words like significant, trying to get at these percentage points. Just like try to engage with what I'm saying without trying to
I am. You're
specify
trying to say
it
that,
further.
Like, a person in Ethan's position, given the fact that he can't pinpoint exactly,
would be justified.
Who among the culpable parties is most responsible?
Would be justified in being angry at the whole group.
I understand what you're suggesting.
Okay.
But the question is, there's a minimum threshold. You wouldn't say that a person in Ethan's position.
But this is unquantifiable.
Oh my God, Hutch, let me fucking talk.
Okay.
So you wouldn't say that someone in Ethan's position, it would be reasonable for them to, target someone who has like no culpability, right? Sure.
Like, yes, of course. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And you would also, you would not accept that he target people who have trivial responsibility. Whatever word you want to put on it, man.
I don't think but I don't think it's trivial though.
There's a certain,
none of that.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's why you're asking for specific percentages. You did ask.
I know
you did ask. What do you mean by 5%? What did you mean by significant?
But yeah, exactly. But like you're the one that's introducing these like individual values that we can't quantify. The point is someone in Ethan's position, I think would be justified in being suspicious of everyone in the sense that like, like I don't know who's community, but it could have been any of them. And just being angry at like all of them. And certainly he was justified in feeling a sense of like what I would think would be like righteous rage that after the fact, it became a joke. It was like a joke to these people. And that was at best, it was a joke. At worst.
Oh,
that kind of speaks to motive, but like it was very obviously malicious from the start.
At worst, the same creators after the fact, including more recently Taylor Lorenz, who was making a joke about it, like they thought it was like a source of comedy. Like that would, I don't know about you, but that would make me, I would boil with rage if that was me. Like that's not funny. There's nothing about that that's funny. We're well beyond internet beef at this point. The government, you're in the system now.
They say.
Like
You do it,
maybe
dumbass.
You're asking yourself like, oh my God, are they going to take my kids away? That is way too far. And I don't think it's trivial to mock that or make light of it or justify it.
I don't even care about the mocking. It's the fact that they encourage it.
Whether you think it's trivial on some other norm of being like respectful to people, after some tragedy occurs, of like, having some standard of decency, that is a separate inquiry as to whether or not their after, conduct behavior, like, it violates some separate norm or standard of decency, separate from the act itself, right? Because I'll give you an example, right? If someone laughs at the fact that Charlie Kirk got assassinated after the fact, you wouldn't say that they're culpable for the act itself, and you would recognize that having their own like moral violation in the laughter is separate from extending culpability of the assassination itself. You understand that, don't you? Yes,
it would be a different kind of calculation.
Yes,
so like instead of
what I'm saying.
Right, but this is not. This is both. This is a both situation. So like all of those creators were number one saying that it was justified, and number two they were joking about it after the fact.
I have been.
Holy shit, there's no way Pisco's going to deny this, right? There's no fucking way.
I've been asking for people to present when one of these three creators said that calling
You
CPS
just
was
watched a video. You just watched a video where
in which she never said that. This predates. So I just want to, this is the logical entailment of you. You agree that video edited in the way it was represents and purports, and it makes sense that it does, that this happened before the CPS call. So she can't say, you can't say that this is her justification of the CPS event because linear time.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. This was before. Like, okay, hang on. Let me walk you through this, okay? Did she Did she agree with the claim that BadEmpanada was making in the video that Ethan's kids got Giardia because he was negligent?
She says that it's dangerous.
No.
This is so pathetic what Pisco's doing here. I hope like people can recognize that he is legitimately just fucking grifting.
No. Dangerous.
Did she agree is what I asked.
I'm not sure that. Hang on, I'll rewatch it. So
I'll rewatch it too, because to me, she's very clearly saying like, "Oh, this explains so much," and like she's very obviously agreeing with the claim.
So someone asked that, and she's reading from a viewer who says it makes sense that he doesn't care about Palestinian kids because he's negligent about his own.
No. Like it started like 55 seconds in.
Okay,
she's
55.
Ethan Klein's been up to. And every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
I managed to find more
now we have shit
terrible
Saturdays.
shit.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children.
I'm not seeing what you're
alleging. Much like many other illnesses.
Hold on.
Very
I'll give you the exact timestamp. Hold on.
Yeah.
Dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
No wonder his house is covered in dog shit, and his neglected children raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the feces.
If Pisco's going to be obtuse about this, that fully confirms to me that he's actually just a grifting piece of shit.
I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that he said, everything that I said in this story...
Okay, hold on. So 144, she goes, what do you think she meant by that?
Wait, hang on. So this is all
145. Start at 130. Start at 130, but then like.
Not catch anything.
Okay.
So it cuts. The first cut after 130, it goes to BadEmpanada.
Yeah.
No wonder it's covered in dog shit.
Yeah.
And neglected children raised, but contracted parasites previously unknown to science.
And she goes,
Which, by the way,
was skipped over all this.
Apparently compiled by his crew.
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no wonder this reaction.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So that's BadEmpanada said that. She's kind of being cute and suggesting that Ethan is hiding.
Wait, hold on.
When I say cute, what I mean to say is, I'm going to grant you something. Okay? Are you listening? I don't know if you're listening.
I'm listening, but I want you to. She keeps going, and it's pretty fucking important.
We listened to it.
No. But did you listen to the rest of it? She goes. She says.
It all makes sense now. It all makes sense.
She says, "No wonder." So she's like obviously granting that BadEmpanada's claims are correct.
Okay, listen. I think that she, by her.
Oh God, it's gonna trigger me. Whatever Pisco said, dude. I hate when people are like, "What's up, Zach?" I hate when people grift like this. It actually like makes me mad.
Tone and indication there is suggesting that she probably is sympathetic to the view that this is neglectful. Okay, I think that's pretty much implied.
That's the most fucking charitable way you could possibly phrase that. Why is he like defending this? So weird.
By her conduct. I don't think it's explicit, but here's what I'm going to ask you, Hutch.
I don't think it's explicit. Give me a fucking break.
Accept that, but I think what you're saying is a very mild interpretation of what she said. Because when she says, no wonder, that is her very obviously saying that she believed that what he was saying was correct.
She is suggesting that by her kind of like demure or kind of like little coy little thing that she thinks that there's something like either negligent or fucked up or there's potential credence to what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this, Hutch. Does taking the view that Ethan was neglectful in the contraction of Giardia as described by Ethan, does having that view that it in fact was neglectful, if that is your view, does someone with that view who expresses that view, are they culpable?
Now I'm gonna do the lawyer thing.
Let me ask the fuck, Hutch. You won't let me fucking talk because you know it's absurd.
No.
Hold on. No,
I'm gonna lawyer you. I'm gonna lawyer you, bro.
I am not moving. I am not going to respond unless you let me.
No, but you're doing the fucking. You can't take. Nope. Hold on. Would you agree?
You can ask your question. So you presented that to me.
Would you agree?
I granted you something. My question comes first, Hutch, and then you can ask, and I will answer. I've answered all your questions.
Why are you? Okay. I will answer your question straight up. We're getting to my questions. Ask the question again. Ask the question again.
And you interrupt me.
Ask the question again. Go ahead.
Is the expression of the view that one feels that Ethan Klein was in fact negligent with respect to the Giardia incident, does expression of that view on one stream give one culpability for a CPS call later on by some unknown party?
In a vacuum with no other factors, no, that alone would not be enough to convict, okay? But you're familiar.
Not even close.
But you're familiar.
The ethical culpability.
Hold on. But you're familiar with the concept of like factors, right?
I understand factors.
Okay, so there's other factors. So like it's her substantiating BadEmpanada's claim. Like she very clearly is telling her audience, oh wow, this makes so much sense now. She's very clearly saying
She's
that
implicitly
the claims
doing it, yes.
very clearly. And then she also says, by the way, guys, this is really serious. His kids could die. And then also, hold on, I'm not done. There's one more factor, okay? Yeah. And then also, there's hella people in her chat spamming somebody should call CPS. Now, would you agree that that is some level of possible culpability?
No.
Holy fuck. What is wrong with Pisco, dude? This is crazy.
Okay.
Not for the action itself, for the CPS call. That's unhinged to think that she has culpability for that, merely that, for the CPS call. That's unhinged. And let me explain why, because we're going to get into it, right? So
you think it's a 0% chance?
Right? So that I think is a violation. One, I don't think it's necessarily negligent what you're talking about. Kids will do things and accidents happen, and I don't think that it shows negligence. I just want to be clear about that they contracted a disease. All right. So I want to be clear that I don't agree that this is necessarily indicative of negligent behavior. Just to be honest with you. Okay.
With Ethan, with his fam. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
That's so irrelevant. He's dancing around the point so hard.
I agree. Well,
but I don't know how we got there.
Because it's irrelevant as fuck, and because it's a deflection from the actual point, which Pisco is not willing to own, which is that what Denims did was morally reprehensible and disgusting. Like,
are you responding to people in your chat?
So the thing is, I'll say things, and people will distort everything I'm saying. So I want to be clear about where I stand. I don't think that the mere fact that your kid contracted Giardia, which Ethan states very strongly that he believes that his children have during the video, I don't think that the mere fact that they contracted it, even through feces, even through dog feces, even through even a perfectly responsive parent, this kind of shit happens. And I don't think that you've shown negligence by the mere fact that they've contracted this disease. The reason I'm saying this, Hutch, because it feels like I need to justify everything I say to you, is to make sure people understand my view on whether or not this entails negligence. It's not my view that it entails negligence, but the notion that if one has the belief that it is negligent, and they express that belief that they feel, they say, oh yeah, that's negligent. Why? How could you I would never let my baby do that. That's just irresponsible parenting. That the expression of that view in isolation or in conjunction with the different things that you've said, that constitutes culpability for some whack job later on who calls CPS, that is bizarre, untenable, totally fucked up, not true. And you would never apply this standard to anyone else. I mean, it really just boggles the mind that you think that independent conduct, now they could be violating their own norms of moderation. They could be violating a standard of decency with respect to other creators to give caveats, etc. But that is a different ethical violation than culpability for the act itself, which I want to get to. At some point, you'll let me put that out.
Well, now I want to like test your ethics here, because like, okay, so let for example, we've had there's been an example of a LLM that enabled someone's unaliving ideation, and then that person went on to unalive themselves. Now, the ultimate culpability for taking the decision to unalive themselves, that would be rest on the person, right? Like ultimately they're the one that made the decision, but like, does the LLM and the software company that engineered that model have any culpability there?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the context of products liability. And I think that you can make an argument that if the usage of the device itself constitutes an unjustifiable risk, such that we can reasonably foresee that this kind of shit would happen based on that. I just think you're close to making that empirical case for this kind of conduct, and certainly not the conduct, if it's merely negligent in the context of these kinds of statement, to like, if someone who's negligent on that, you're going to get a civil judgment or something. And again, we're talking ethics here, so we're just removing it from its context. But I do acknowledge that there can be cause of action and culpability for negligence and stuff, but not when when it's being like the causal chain here is being broken by the clearly culpable actors who do the bad thing here. And so, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have some kind of inherently dangerous device. Okay, so you have a lawnmower that it contains a product defect. All right, contains a product defect, and it is dangerous to maneuver, and sometimes the shit flies off. And then so someone is operating it and uses the lawnmower to kill their own kid on purpose. Would you say that that lawnmower, which has the defect, which could, you know, cause the death of a child in certain circumstances, carries with it a risk? You would not. Exactly. Right. So you have to understand that there's this notion of in the damages context in log, and we're but I think this also applies to our own intuitions and ethics. There's this notion of proximate causation. Okay, that in order to really feel liable for the kinds of things that we are talking about here, and we're talking about like big lawsuits and from an ethical perspective, but in the civil damages context, for whatever harm is being caused, that there's some kind of attenuation. And oftentimes the causal chain is cut off by the culpable conduct of other people. So for example, let's say that, you know, there are two actors involved in some kind of lawsuit, and one really, they did something horribly intentional and malicious. This notion of proximate causation, which is, I think, reflecting our intuitive notions of morality, that is going to, notwithstanding potential reckless conduct of others, we're going to see the cause and source of the harm as being too attenuated to track to the specific actor who was negligent but not intentional and malicious. And so that's what I'm trying to describe here, is no doubt that there potentially is some like source of negligence here, or some kind of bad statement that's made by Denims. I would agree with that. I even agree that like she is implying that she agrees that it was negligent. What you're failing to provide is a close enough proximity to the malicious conduct. You're not even close to ascribe the kind of malicious, intentional, culpable conduct that would justify these kinds of things and, you know, bankrupting people. I mean,
I don't know how to, but I don't know how to reconcile what you just said with respect to culpability and this idea that it's absurd to suggest that she had any culpability. I don't know how to reconcile that with the fact that you called her negligent. And I don't know how to reconcile that with the fact that you said that by not moderating, you increase the risk of something happening. Like you seem capable in one moment of understanding that someone can have can indirectly
the reason why he can't
to something happening.
The reason why he can't do that is because he doesn't want to be critical of Denims, because his audience is a bunch of commie morons.
Seem to be able to comprehend that over here, but then when we get to the point where I say she's partly culpable, just like all those creators are, you fall back on this idea that it's preposterous to even propose.
Let me build the case out. So, because clearly I'm not explaining myself well. You understand there could be different ethical obligations, correct?
Generally, like in life.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So, like you have an obligation. Yeah, in life, like you have an obligation.
Poor Goose.
Not.
Poor Goose, are you table cutting? Is that you?
To infringe the rights of others. You have an obligation to take due care when you're driving the car. Okay.
Yes.
And a violation of one ethical obligation doesn't necessitate a violation of some other ethical obligation that is distinct, correct?
Yes,
so like
sure.
The fact that so when I say that you could have a self-standing violation of an obligation related to responsible moderating, and that doesn't entail culpability for the specific act, what I'm telling you is the following. You have a self-standing ethical obligation not to pursue frivolous CPS calls or, harassing false reports to CPS or whatever.
I'm not talking about.
Listen to.
Sorry.
Take a second to listen. All right.
All right.
So
you can be a little wordy sometimes. Is all.
I understand. Okay. Just all right. Ethical obligation number one: do not falsify maliciously or state things to CPS that are frivolous or not bases for genuine concern or something like that. Okay, or not sufficient. Ethical obligation number one. Ethical obligation number two: do not needlessly increase risk by failing to responsibly moderate. I just gave you two different ethical obligations. Yes.
Yeah.
And you would agree that violation of one ethical obligation does not entail in any way violation of both. Correct?
No, not necessarily. Like nobody,
So
but
don't
nobody.
agree that
Nobody.
one can violate one and not the other, right?
Yes.
One could, not moderate responsibly and do the malicious call. One could do the malicious call and not responsibly moderate.
Yes.
These are not. They don't entail each other.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're separate.
Okay.
But when I say there is a risk, yet they're not culpable for the violation of the ethical obligation, what I'm telling you is They're perhaps culpable for something else, failure to
I
respond.
had to refresh the chat so that YouTube chat is included.
The culpability of that conduct as a lot less significant than the one person who intentionally, maliciously violates this obligation on the CPS front.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
like
that's
what
I'm talking
so
about.
the person who made the decision to make that call, that is the much bigger violation, in my opinion. Like that person committed something that is more immoral.
And my contention
than being negligent. But that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as saying that Denims has 0% culpability, because if you acknowledge that creators wield influence, and if by not setting an example, they increase the risk of
Denims is obviously complicit with the CPS stuff.
Then they,
complicit.
of course,
Denims is obviously complicit with the CPS stuff. Complicit doesn't even go far enough. She's like, she is like partially culpable.
Necessarily have contributed to that person.
They don't necessarily do that. Just merely. So if I increase, I'll give you an example. All right. So this should be very intuitive. Someone says to
I hate how Pisco says these condescending things when he's obviously like grifting his ass off. Like this should be very intuitive. I know you're having trouble understanding my fucking point.
An unfortunate example. Sometimes we have to do these. Someone says to their daughter, their child, hey, go out into the bad part of town. I think you'll be okay if you go to the bad part of town or something, negligent parental advice. Fair.
This is a very good analogy, by the way.
I'm glad that you know where I'm going.
That's where my mind was going too, by the way. Sorry.
Okay. Someone does something horrible to this person. They murder her. And someone says, Mr. Father, sir, you are culpable for the murder. Do you agree?
Partly, yeah.
I think that is insane.
If a father told his daughter,
I need to hear the hypothetical.
I want you to go to the bad part of town where people get raped and killed, and then the daughter gets raped and killed, and you don't think the father would have any culpability?
Ethical culpability for the murder.
Yes.
Right? Not because they contributed to a risk.
Yes, of course.
For the murder.
Yeah, of course. Of course they would have some ethical culpability.
I understand that the father in this situation didn't literally murder the daughter, but people would rightfully ostracize that father and judge him.
Say, yes. What they would say is, you're culpable for imperiling perhaps your daughter with bad advice. But they wouldn't say that you share culpability in the murder.
Not legal culpability.
No, ethical culpability in the murder. Okay.
But the murder,
exposing oneself. Oh, okay.
Hold on, but the murder in this situation, right, would not have happened if the father didn't give that horrible advice, right?
I understand that they're a but-for cause. Now, you have, just to be clear here, I understand in the example I just provided that the father is a but-for cause. You haven't even shown in any respect that she is a but-for cause for the CPS call. You haven't even started. Yeah, I just want to be clear.
I'm not making that claim.
No. I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear for the audience that you haven't even started.
I'm not making that claim.
No, wait. I just want to make sure that the audience understands, right? So I'm just going to make sure the audience understands, right?
So he's going to keep repeating the dumbass point that has nothing to do with the conversation to pretend that he's getting a win, is what he means to say there.
Kaceytron or Frogan are but-for causes for the CPS call. Not even started. So an example, yes, for sure. The father is a but-for cause for the death of his daughter. We don't say in the typical course of analysis that the father is partly culpable for the murder of his daughter. What we say is he's responsible in negligence in parenting. He is, culpable for creating an environment where that type of thing could occur. What he's not culpable for is the malicious and unlawful killing of his daughter.
Yeah, the father would be liable. That would be child neglect. Yeah, I like his own point is self-defeating. It's so weird.
Agreed? Yes or no?
Ethically, I do think he's culpable in this spot. I totally disagree. Okay. I mean, there's a different.
I don't agree.
Well, there's a different scenario that we could use, right? Like something more direct. Like what about firearm storage, right? Like let's say your parent has a firearm and they don't properly store it, and then a kid finds a firearm and starts using it like a toy, accidentally kills himself. Is the parent culpable?
Yes,
I think that culpable for negligence and for creating an unjustifiable and substantial risk.
And you don't think that a father telling his daughter to go to a part of town where people are raped and killed would be a similar kind of logic?
The same logic applies in the course of the parenting advice. What he's not culpable for is the murder. Do you understand the distinction there?
No,
That the murder.
I don't understand how
There,
these things are different.
he's making things up because he has no argument here,
Okay,
and he
okay.
knows it. What a grifter, dude.
So, do you understand how society views death in the abstract, accidents in the abstract, the cause
Oh, good Game of Thrones meme. I hope Pisco never has a kid. Holy hell, true.
causing of death of someone else as generally bad, but they view murder as something horrific. Do you understand that distinction?
Yes,
Between
yes. But
someone
I'm-
dying, for
yes,
example, of
yes.
natural causes.
No,
and
yes.
murder.
Okay, yes.
So there are instances in which people can
How do I
have culpability for the death of somebody, no doubt. Have culpability, and usually when we apply culpability, and this is another case that this totally fails on.
Okay, I don't think I
Only
leaked
when you're,
anything.
failing to adhere to a substantial and unjustifiable risk. Okay, sometimes there are justifiable risks. Sometimes
What
it's not
is
a substantial risk. Let's say, for example, you tell your kid to go out into the good part of town, but for you telling her to go to the good part of town where she would be safe, it happened to be that the killer was there in the good part of town. You're a but-for cause there, but you haven't
I understand.
reached some kind. Okay,
I
got it?
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So just because you share potentially some culpability in the death of somebody, in the case in which you've done something unjustifiable and you're substantially increasing risk, right? Not just moderate increase risk, substantial increase in risk, right? You tell your daughter to go drive a car down to the fucking supermarket. Now you're increasing risk, but it's not substantial and it's not unjustifiable. So, but in the case in which you are doing those things, I'm gonna finish. Let me finish. I know I'm wordy. You're culpable for increasing the risk. You're not culpable for murder. That's the difference. Okay.
You're culpable,
Very-
I think, partly
Very, very brave, Pisco. Thank you.
culpable for your daughter dying. You're not maybe like we're
You're not solely responsible, but you're absolutely fucking morally culpable. Like, what?
quibbling about the words here, right? But like,
here's the distinction, Hutch. What?
hold on, I
Ethan
almost
wants
had
to
something
do-
there. Hold on,
Yeah,
you
okay.
you figured out where I was going there, right? So like, Denims.
Pisco actually is like a debate pedophile. This is crazy.
What you're saying is like literally not culpable for like the act of calling CPS, but
The
if we're using
really
this
bad
analog,
thing, right?
she
The
could
really
be,
bad thing.
She could be culpable for the fact that CPS was called.
Okay, so she could be culpable for the increasing the risk on that and the fact that it was called. Here's the problem: you haven't even begun to make the empirical case for that, and that's not. So the reason that people are mad is the malicious aspect of it, the incriminating conduct, the call to CPS, not the fact that you've increased the risk minimally.
Wait,
or
hold on.
That there's a potential risk, right?
Hold on, wait, hold on. You're
Oh my god, I really am trying to explain.
Well, you're
it in the most-
filibustering, bro, every time. Like,
I'm not.
Yes, yes.
Like, so
he absolutely is.
are you telling me right now that there is a 0% chance that someone in Denim's audience called CPS?
No, I'm not saying that.
So she could.
Wait, did you understand? So when you say could,
Wait,
you're going to say
hold
logically
on.
possible.
So
did you understand me
No,
suggesting that?
you stop. So she could be partly culpable for CPS having been called.
Yes.
No, not in my
Just-
opinion. No.
oh my
Unless
God.
By what you mean.
It's the Patrick Wallet meme, dude. Oh my god.
Okay, Man Ray, are you ready for your first day at goodness school? Pat, get your wallet out. Okay,
Actually, quality journalism.
goodness lesson number 1. You see someone drop their wallet. Patrick dropped the wallet. Now, what would you do?
Excuse me, sir, but I do believe you've dropped your wallet.
I do believe there's a clip here of Denims tacitly encouraging her community to call CPS.
No, it's not mine. It
Nope.
is.
It's not wrong.
I am trying to be a good person and return it to you. Return what to who? Aren't you Patrick Starr?
Yep. Yep.
And this is your ID. Yep. I found.
So in this clip, she does imply that Ethan's children could die because of his parenting, right? Yep. And she actually continues this and doesn't moderate her chat at all when they're all saying someone needs to call CPS on him, right? Yep. So she's culpable for someone calling CPS then, right? No. Like that's what this is.
You just said it was not 0% though.
Culpability does not totally turn on whether or not
Oh my
someone
God.
happens
He was missing
to
so
emerge
hard.
from particular causal pathway in which they come from the community. Culpability relates to someone's actions at the time that they're taken, and whether so. Right at the time that she takes these actions, that's the time at which we analyze whether she did a bad thing. Correct?
Filibuster, I barely know her.
No.
Of course. Of course.
At the time she takes the action, that's the point at which you have to analyze the culpability of her conduct. At the time she says that, is there a significant chance in your mind?
No,
right?
it's not
Or have you even-
significant. No, don't add
That's
that
the
word.
problem.
I didn't say that.
So when all you say is there a chance?
Yeah.
That's trivially fucking true.
It's
There's
not
a chance
tri-
someone interprets your words.
No,
like,
no, no.
The people are fucking crazy. What
It's
do
not-
you mean?
it's
Like,
not
if all
trivial
you mean by
because-
chance is logical chance. That's
It's not-
crazy.
It's not trivial because we can't know. And so in the absence of certainty. Now, if Ethan
my
knew
God.
for sure,
No.
if Ethan knew for sure whose audience that person came from, and it did come from one of their audience, okay,
Holy
like
thick.
surely you would agree, like the fact that that CPS was called like within a week of that stream, like and she wasn't the only one watching that, like so it came from that space of the internet. Would anybody even deny that? Like,
Is
but
there
so,
a chance
It
that
clearly
it came,
did.
is there a chance it came from your community, Hutch?
sure.
No. I would say
Yeah,
no.
Sure, just as culpable Denims on it?
Do you think that the chances are anywhere close to
No.
the idea that it came from one of their audiences?
I don't know. I mean, do you have an intuition for that? My
Okay.
intuition.
I-
is,
Why- he's being bad
I don't think
faith.
it
my
came from my
intuition.
audience.
My intuition is that like you know, it's probably more likely on the margin that
On the margin.
it comes from one of these particular communities.
Yeah.
The point is, the mere chance that it comes from a particular community isn't enough for you to say that that there's culpability.
No, I
so
think-
you acknowledging hang on a second. You acknowledging that there's a distinction between
Dude.
the risk factor with respect to you versus Denims is
This
you
is crazy. I never expected Pisco to be this full of shit, dude. That's really sad.
acknowledging that significance of risk matters. And that's why you can't ignore significance of risk. When you say, I don't want to talk about significance of risk, well, then you're just not playing the same game, because by your lights, if significance of the risk doesn't matter, you and I are both culpable, because it's possible, I guess, it's something we said triggered some fucking crazy person. So you need to talk about significant risk if you even want to get close to
Here,
culpability.
I just want to get like, because I feel like it's been 2 hours now about like we're trying to get what we're ultimately trying to get at was, you know, was Ethan justified in being furious with these creators collectively? Like that's the point that I'm trying to get at.
No,
That's
no.
like
Absolutely.
what this
We're
conversation is all
talking
about
as-
for me. I'm
what we're
trying
talking
to
about-
because we hold on. Because we're trying to unpack like whether or not Ethan's actions were justified or they fit what happened is like basically what we're trying to get at here. And I'm in a situation like this where you can't know and you'll never know. There's no way, unless the person came forward and admitted it and said whose community they came from, you just can't know.
I
And
hate
so
this
if
game.
you're in Ethan's shoes
Oh, hell is banned
and
too,
you
cool.
see a pool of, I'll make it up, like a dozen creators, and they're all making light of this situation, tacitly encouraging it, justifying it, making jokes about it, but you can't know which one specifically it came from. The point is, it could have been like any of them, plausibly. It could have been any of their audiences. And so in that moment, I understand being angry with like everybody. At the very
What do you
very
mean you
least, I mean,
understand?
surely
But you
surely,
understand, you mean like you can understand his human emotion?
I would
mean,
understand.
okay. So would I guess.
No, beyond an emotion, I can understand in that moment wanting accountability, wanting
The question isn't whether you
to
understand.
impose consequences for that violation done to me.
The question, Hutch, isn't whether you understand the feeling or wanting it. The question is it right to do? Is it right to file lawsuits in this context, or to do whatever act that we're gonna, if we haven't even breached yet and talked about, if you're not sure
Fuck
whether
this.
a particular person is culpable for the action, or is either, for example, intentional about what they're doing, or significantly increasing risk, right? Would you ever say
Fuck
that
it.
it would be justified to do something like otherwise bad or malicious towards an individual who doesn't have evidence that they intentionally?
Well, but the thing is that he had grounds for the lawsuit. Like, so if he has grounds for the lawsuit and he like is justified in being like emotionally like triggered by them doing that, which is fair, then what even is the argument? Like, he shouldn't have done it anyways, because that's not super chill, bro. Like, what?
Increased risk or try to do it, or B, no evidence that the risk that they imposed was significant. No, you wouldn't. You have to examine the quantum of risk here. It's impossible to ignore it.
I think we evaluate responsibility just way differently.
Yeah, no, you don't. Pisco's just full of shit, dude. That's it, Hutch. That's it. Your boy is grifting. That's all.
I think this is an irreconcilable difference of opinion here.
I don't agree. So just to be clear, is it your position today that Denims significantly increased the risk that someone called CPS?
100,000%. Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
In virtue of the, why are you asking me this question?
Because he's being a debate pedophile.
It's the three factors. It's the three factors. I'll say them again though. Do you want me to say them again? I already said this. It's the three factors.
Yeah, so what's the empirical case there?
Number one, she platformed the BadEmpanada video and co-signed his claims. Co-signed onto them and expressed very, in my opinion, explicitly that she agreed with the claims. She then said that Ethan's kids might die, and she saw people in her chat making a call to action to like somebody needs to call CPS, and she refused to moderate. That to me,
do you have any evidence that she saw those? Do you have any evidence that she saw those messages? Do you have evidence that she saw those messages? Yes or no?
No. We'll say no.
So you can't know that she was refusing to moderate responsibly, right?
She constantly stares at chat. It's like a meme with her. It's constantly stares at chat.
You just said on your
do you
own
think
lights,
do you think it's plausible? Do you think it's plausible that she wasn't looking at chat at all? Had no idea what was going on?
If by plausible you think that it's reasonably likely, yes. I mean, I don't look at chat. I
haven't
been
looking
likely?
at chat. No, come on.
But based on in virtue of what? You know that she like steadfastly, intentionally refused to moderate. Are you telling me that you see every one of your chat
Have you watched
messages?
a lot of her content?
No, I haven't fucking watched it.
I doubt. I bet Pisco's an avid watcher, actually.
This kind of blows my mind. I've watched a lot of Denims content. You're saying you haven't watched a lot of her, like at all? Like at all?
No, I haven't watched a lot of Denims content.
Why are you speaking so confidently on this then? Like, I don't understand. Why are you giving your opinion about like, well, it doesn't seem likely to me if you don't know anything about her content?
So there usually is a requirement, right? If you're going to make a case that she intentionally, it's your claim, isn't it? That she intentionally refused to moderate those calls to CPS. Isn't it your burden to show that? Is it your burden?
I'm just a little lost. I'm just hold on. I'm just trying to process what I'm experiencing with you right now.
I mean, you can make all these appeals.
Don't you think it would help you in these conversations to spend some time like familiarizing yourself with these people, their character, their content?
Is it your burden?
You don't think that's relevant to the analysis?
So if you make a claim, is it your burden?
Stares at chat and interacts with chat.
Do you constantly stare at chat? Do you constantly stare at chat and respond to it?
Yes.
Do you read everything that the chat says?
Not all the time. No. Okay.
So in virtue of the fact that someone tends to look at the chat
if I'm having a conversation with you, but if it's just me and chat and I'm watching the video, I'm constantly watching chat.
Okay. So, but the mere fact that someone tends to look at chat, don't you have an additional burden to show that they actually disregarded, this risk?
So you're holding here saying maybe she didn't see it in chat. That's what you're saying?
Hutch, I asked you a question. Is it your claim or not? And do you have the burden? That's the question.
I'm not interested in this line with you. I'm not interested in this line of questioning. I find it preposterous.
Because you're preposterous.
You're trying to weasel out of like,
you don't have a burden.
I don't think you should have such confident opinions when you don't know anything about these creators. That's my point.
Who made the claim? Did you make the claim that she disregarded and intentionally?
Pisco selectively does this where he acts like he doesn't know anything about these lefties being nuts too.
So between us,
I've seen him do this before.
No,
I want to move past this. I want to move past like the other thing.
Hutch, I'm not going to move past it because you're making a claim and saying that I'm doing something weird by not watching all of Denims.
Because you've said it before, though. You've said it before.
I deserve MVP, but whatever.
You made this conversation about.
Simple question.
You made this conversation about.
As between us, who made the claim about Denims?
I'm not going to go down this road with you. I'm not.
I'm not going to not go down this road.
You made this conversation about like whether or not his actions were justified or appropriate, like an appropriate response to the stuff that they did. You'll say that in one breath, but then you'll also say that you don't really know much about the creators or what they did. It's like, why wouldn't you take the time to like look into that first, though? I don't understand.
Hang on a second. So this is an inartful thing that you're doing. The mere fact that I haven't watched all of Denim's
it's
content.
important,
wait,
though.
hang on. The mere fact that I haven't. So I'm just going to address what you just said. I am going to go back to my line. So you haven't distracted me from that. The mere fact that I haven't watched all of Denim's content, or all of Kaceytron's content, or all of Frogan's content, that is not any contradiction between me and my opinions thus far. Can you identify a contradiction or some kind of thing that doesn't make sense on that view?
Well, you seemed taken off guard when you looked at
can
the.
you not?
Like
Can you or can you not?
you got taken off guard when you were watching.
You just made an additional claim. You just made an additional claim.
But
you said it was weird.
Generally speaking, though, you don't think it would. Generally speaking, though, you don't think it would behoove you to like familiarize yourself with these creators and what they said and did during that time. You seem to have not like looked into it very
Pisco
much.
doesn't know shit,
also
but
have
he's
strong
ardently defending them
opinions
apparently.
about Ethan
For the scope of
Very
and
interesting.
The severity of like what he did compared with what he was responding to.
For the scope of my claims, I believe I've done appropriate research for the scope of my claims. I haven't made broader claims that would require me to do the kind of research that you're talking about.
But are you not claiming?
Wait, did you? So Hutch. I just answered all your concerns.
Are you not claiming that he is taking it too far?
Hutch. I just answered your claims.
Are you not claiming that he's taking it too far?
I just answered your concerns. Did you make a claim about Denim's intent or not?
Yes.
She had the requisite intent anyways. Like, this is so stupid. What is he talking about? Who is Blood talking to?
Her very,
isn't it your burden?
Like, I think to any reasonable person who is familiar with this situation and familiar with her, I think any reasonable person would come to the conclusion that she did see what was going on in her chat.
So is it?
Yes.
So is it your burden to demonstrate that?
Beyond what is it?
To a reasonable certainty. To a reasonable certainty.
I'm not here to try to convict in front of a jury. I'm just saying a reasonable person would come to the conclusion that she was watching her chat and she saw what they were saying. And her rhetoric here. I'll give you something to support the claim.
What is my team doing, dude?
Okay.
Holy shit.
So first I want to establish it is your burden. You agree it's your burden to demonstrate your claim, correct?
Who cares?
Is it your burden or not?
I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm
Dude,
actually physically tired right now.
This would go by a lot faster if you just acknowledge the obvious. If you
no,
make a
but
claim,
you're trying to do these lawyer
tricks.
tricks. You're tricking me. You're
It's
trying
not
to
a
trick me
lawyer
right
trick,
now.
bro.
Yeah, you are. Any reasonable person
Hello.
thinks that she was looking at her chat and saw anybody. Okay, you can say, well, was it 100%? No, I don't know.
So
100%.
Are you saying that you assume it? Are you assuming it?
I think it's a safe assumption. Yes.
Are you? So an assumption, in other words, is something that you
Chronically online, yeah, bruh, and proud.
don't justify. Fair?
I could be wrong.
Okay, but
Sure.
you made a claim.
It's possible.
So here's the problem, right? If you make a claim about a particular intent, and this is, by the way, not too dissimilar to what you say of me, right? Like, don't you say the same thing to me? You're like, you can't say you know Ethan's intent. You have to prove that.
Like,
and now when I come back with you and say, hey, listen, when you're trying to speak about Denim's intent, don't you need to show that? You're like, I don't want to answer that question. You made me tired. I mean, what the fuck?
Okay, do you think it's possible that she didn't see anything in her chat?
By possible, do you mean logically possible?
Plausible. Do you think it's plausible that she didn't see any of that?
Yeah. So I think plausible is like, is there a decent chance she didn't see it? I think it's decent.
Okay.
Yeah, that's insane.
Guess what?
Insanity.
The reason I have that intuition is because both you and I agree that we don't see the entirety of our chats. Okay. And you would agree, by the way, between you and I, we don't see the vast majority of chats that come on our chat, correct?
I think I see most of the chat. It's only when I'm having conversations like that, like now, where I'm like really invested in what I'm watching. But at this point in my career, back when I was playing video games, fuck no, I barely looked at the chat. It wasn't that often. These days, I constantly look at both chats. And so does she, by the way. That's her whole thing. She's constantly interacting with chat. That's her pattern. That's what I know about her as a creator. Hang on. I'm trying to support the claim, okay? Like, I know this about her as a creator, is that she is constantly interacting with her chat. Like, constantly. Like they are a big part of their content. Like some creators, like I don't know if Destiny necessarily does it in the same way. Like he interacts with chat, but it's like he's off doing his own thing. He's kind of doing his own react or whatever. Like not everybody works that way.
Don't bring up Destiny to Pisco, bro. He'll have a mental fucking breakdown.
I make a concerted effort to look at my chat, and I miss like 50+% of everything that comes up there.
You say it's plausible. She missed it. Okay. But
but even putting that aside, even if I granted it, Hutch, even if I granted that she bears culpability for failure to mitigate these kinds of risks, failure to moderate, it just doesn't extend to the act itself. That kind of thing, we don't have that normative intuition that a failure to adjust for risk, that this is a substantial risk, that based on this content someone's going to call CPS. You couldn't justify that, man. You couldn't justify that there's a substantial risk that given that statement, that someone as a result of that is the natural and probable consequence of that is that someone calls CPS. It just isn't.
You absolutely can. What is he talking about? What is Blood talking about?
I can easily justify putting myself in Ethan's shoes and looking at the whole space that dogpiled and joked about it and egged it on and justified it. I can easily justify in that moment feeling like they all share culpability for contributing to that, to their collective audience's culture of like,
but that's a separate
unrivaled levels of like we're beyond hostility at that point. It was one of the most like vicious
Hutch,
pylons I've ever seen in my entire career, going back nearly 2 decades.
The lefties do that to you.
Not like, listen, I've been on the receiving end of some vicious shit, and nothing came close to what the Kleins went through. I mean, do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge that the act of like, hold on, let me ask you a question.
I've already done that. Yeah, CPS is bad. That's why I said.
Now I got a different question.
Why are you talking about it? And yes, I did say
that. All right, I have a different question. What do you think what do you think is worse? Like, what do you think is a more significant action?
They sent fucking skulls to Ethan's house. Exactly.
The lawsuit.
It was so unhinged, the fucking like level of harassment. And the thing is, Ethan was so like cucked out like to their positions too. Like Ethan like basically agreed with them like 95%. But the 5% where he was like, guys, maybe it's not cool if like, a bunch of terrorists like rape and murder, random civilians at a music festival. Like that was too much.
Or the CPS.
Calling CPS vindictively and maliciously.
Okay.
But that's not the question. The question isn't.
It is though.
Between these. No, it's fucking not. You need to connect the creators to the culpable actions. And even if, by the way,
they're all culpable in my mind.
Including yourself, right? Because there's a chance it came from your community.
No, listen, like for egging it on, for making light of it, and for joking about it. They're all culpable.
They
4%. They're community.
They fostered that state of mind for these people.
Yeah.
So I'm so pleased that I'll see this. You applying this standard to liberals. You apply this standard to all sorts.
It's funny that Pisco is saying this because Hutch probably actually does but
of creators who have, let's just put it modestly, less than stellar reputations and actions when it comes to moderation of their communities. Let's just to put it mildly. I mean, like
I've called those people out. I've called them out.
That they're culpable. So if someone crazy does something to Pisco because they say that he's, whatever they say, you're going to be like, oh, all these people who are making false claims and piling on Pisco, these people have collective.
This is just so far out there. Like Pisco is so either I think he's grifting. Well, he is grifting. I don't know why I'm saying I think. Like I'm certain he's 100% grifting.
Responsibility for the murder of Pisco. You would never say that.
Surely you would agree that when we're talking about like politicians,
he's grifting because his own audience has been infiltrated by like commie freaks. So like, yeah, it's pretty open and shut to me at this point. There's no way he's like defending this shit to this extent. It's like crazy to me.
That kind of culpability, that would be spread out like amongst hundreds of thousands of creators and people with platforms and influence. It's a little bit different in this situation when we're talking about
the Republicans' argument about Charlie Kirk, that after the fact, the Democrats are fostering communities where they're doing things that with their natural consequence is it causes crazy people to. So I just want you to know this entire thing. I've been trying to show you that the standard you're applying is the conservative standard on Charlie Kirk.
No,
and you just said it perfectly. Yes, it's scattered across. That's the Republicans' theory for why Democrats deserve culpability for all these crazy lunatics doing crazy shit.
If you just described it, man. If you think I'm being inconsistent, you should just ask my chat. What was I saying about people that were making jokes about Charlie Kirk?
You were not saying they're culpable for murder. You were not saying that.
No. What I was saying was...
You weren't saying that, right? You weren't saying that, right?
No, that's not what I was saying. But like, again, this is not analogous at all. But what I was telling my chat, like that day, the day after, like I didn't find any of the jokes funny. Like I was telling people that this was a time for everybody to.
I don't agree with the jokes.
Right.
I
No,
condemn
but
the
that's
jokes,
me
I
being
condemn them.
consistent, though.
Who gives
I'm
a
saying,
fuck
like,
about
we all have a
who gives a fuck about jokes? I don't care about jokes. It's the fact that Denims literally was like encouraging people to call CPS. Like
Not calling them culpable.
again,
You're
I'll
not-
repeat
you're not-
myself for the
No,
100th
but
time.
like you would be culpable in a much more abstract sense of
Let's be
contributing to
concrete.
that kind
Let's
of
be concrete.
culture.
And the only reason that I'm picking on Destiny here is simply because he has the most like I don't know spicy takes.
I
on the
called
Charlie
him
Kirk.
out.
No,
I
but
told
you don't
I
think- So here's the question. I'm not saying did you call him out or not. Don't confuse the issues, Hutch. And I'm not going to get confused by it. So just be clear. Is Destiny culpable for the murder of Charlie Kirk because he joked about it afterward in ways that you find reprehensible? Is he culpable for the murder?
No, of course
Okay,
not.
so
Of
the mere fact
course
that you're part of a
not.
collective
No.
that jokes about it after the fact, makes light of the murder, does some kind of funny memes about it, that is not enough to satisfy culpability
even when-
on this shit.
No, but even what I'm not talking about, like, so there's culpability for like a shared responsibility for fostering
You know, Pisco's in trouble when he starts invoking the D word.
communities where this sort of behavior is encouraged and celebrated and joked about. Like that's one thing. And then there's like culpability for the act itself. And then there's like joking about it
That's
after the
my
fact.
point, Hutch.
And like all
That's
of these
my
things.
point,
But no,
Hutch.
but I'm saying all of these things are relevant considerations when we evaluate. Was Ethan justified in taking extreme actions?
I totally agree. But here's
Okay.
the problem, though. Here's the problem. The culpability for failure to moderate, the culpability for failure to making light of stuff, right? And when you shouldn't do it, it's being conflated with the malicious act of the call itself. That's the sneaky part.
I'm not
That's the part that doesn't.
but I'm not conflating
Whether
it,
you
though.
are or not, people are, and they're saying, well, and you almost did. I actually think you did it here by saying, well, don't you acknowledge by failure to moderate, you acknowledge that there's some culpability there, therefore there's culpability for the actual act. No, we cannot conflate these. We really can't.
I don't. I'm not conflating it. I feel like you're trying to do this thing where you're conflating it to try to like make the point that it's absurd to say that they're responsible because ultimately it's up to the person that did it. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like if you are irresponsible in your lack of moderation, in your own words, increase the risk of someone in your audience doing something like that.
You're responsible for that. But if that conduct doesn't rise to a certain level of significance, it's negligible, right? So you need to make it's not enough to say you increase the risk.
Dude,
you will accept this, Hutch. It's not enough. That
I don't.
Raise
It's
the
not.
risk.
It's not trivial. None of this is trivial. I don't think any of them have clean
that's
hands
not
in this
my
situation.
That's not my point. You would agree, wouldn't you, that raising the risk minorly isn't culpable conduct, right?
For the act itself, literally according to your standard, no. But you have contributed. In my
on
opinion,
your view. I'm not asking on my view. On your view, if you raise the risk just a tiny little bit, that's not culpable conduct, is it?
Not necessarily, no. But like, here's the thing, though. Like,
yeah,
I can smell it.
What, is something okay?
They painted. There was a pipe that burst, and so they had to fix a bunch of shit and paint a bunch of
Your
shit.
governor is a smart cookie. He might not be trustworthy, but I like him after that interview with Ezra. I'm just saying, you know.
I've liked him for a while.
Smart.
Yeah, he is.
he's pretty trustworthy.
Smart. He is very sharp. He's fucking super sharp.
But I know that was like that interview was Democrat porn, so I just wanted to.
Oh yeah, I was living out for sure.
Hutch, you're my boy. I'm not trying to meme on you or like insult you or anything, but it really like in order to
Don't worry about me.
Okay. I'm not taking it personally. I don't take it personally. But I really want to emphasize that it's not enough to show some trivial risk, some insignificant risk. If you want to demonstrate that there's culpability in the context of increasing risk, in this context, maybe I would grant that there's some nominal duty to impose these kinds of standards of moderation on your own community. Absolutely. But to race for culpability with respect to risk of the underlying act, you're going to have to show some significant risk increase there. And I don't think that you even started to make that case for any of the creators. Like Kaceytron? What the fuck? What is the evidence that Kaceytron contributed to this?
She was justifying
Kaceytron's one of the most insane fucking people on the internet. She is severely mentally ill.
it and joking about it just the same. They were all doing
after
this.
the fact.
They were
On no
all
different
doing
terms than
this.
someone after the fact joking about Charlie Kirk's assassination. But you would not say, "Wow, you've contributed to his death." You would say this is in bad taste. This looks bad. This is independently a wrong thing to do.
It's not
but
just
it's not
this
culpability.
No, but it's not just a CPS call. Like if you as a creator and you have a platform and you're making jokes about the CPS call or whatever.
Yeah. Also, future, you can't, like, no one can kill Charlie Kirk a second time. That's not how that works. But like Ethan's can still get further harassment. Like, oh, I DC it. Nice. What the fuck was that, man? Is my stream even up? Testing? Yes. Okay. Take a shot every time someone says filibuster. True.
You are contributing directly to a culture that is being fostered in that community of celebrating something that I find to be like really reprehensible, abhorrent, disgusting behavior. And anybody in Ethan's position would have been furious. Like, do you understand that? Like, even
my
if
cam
we
is
found
gone.
out, for example,
hold on, I'll fix that in a sec.
Even if we could say for sure that person came from BadEmpanada's community specifically, I would.
You would still say it's
I would still in my mind. Yeah. No. I would still in my mind think and say that they're all culpable because they're all contributing in their own ways. And it's like, obviously we're getting very abstract here, but that's where my mind goes with it. Like it could have been
of the risk,
any of them, right? Like it could have been any of them.
So people calling Charlie Kirk a fascist and saying
he is a fascist, or he was a fascist.
No, it's not. It is not. No, I don't. No, Charlie Kirk was a national figure who had way more. But like, if you're going to ask me in a broad
Ethan
sense,
Klein is not a national figure. Like,
not like Charlie Kirk.
What are we talking about here? No, of course
really
not.
making a distinction on that ground? Like, okay, like Ethan.
Yeah, of course we are.
True. I mean, maybe in our bubble, but I don't know that Ethan Klein is less or more popular than Charlie Kirk or more well known. They're comparable, aren't they?
Like, let me just ask you, like. Okay, so you have family, I assume? So like
Charlie Kirk was personal friends with the fucking president, Pisco. What the fuck are you saying?
Let's say a bunch of like a deranged MAGA person who followed you. There was a bunch of smaller creators, or bigger creators, right? Like, and they all started like memeing about how, one of your family members was like abusing their kids, and then CPS showed up at the house, right? Like, and are you telling me you wouldn't be like almost equally pissed at like everybody who was possibly indirectly responsible for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people who are making light of it, people making, if I had evidence that they were encouraging it, if I felt that they were like spreading lies that someone could take that way, that's a different, you keep trying to find different ways to ask the same question.
It worked in a weird way.
Could there be independent obligations? Okay, I'm trying to explain. Like, you're finding different ways to ask it, but fundamentally, you haven't crossed the divide, which is the mere increase of a risk in violation of some ethical obligation to, moderate or to be wise with your words or not say stupid shit that someone could take a certain way. That does not translate to culpability for the malicious vindictive acts. And we cannot conflate those levels of responsibility or culpability. And what's being used to justify these lawsuits, again, putting aside the issue of whether his intent is to protect the React community, which is so bizarre and fucked up and not true. But even putting that aside, the argument you get is that shit doesn't even matter. Like, fuck that analysis piece. Who cares about it? Because these people are just so awful because they're culpable for the CPS call. That's what I'm hearing, and I just think that is just totally wrong-headed analysis.
I think they did awful. I think they did an awful thing. I think all of them contributed to a really awful thing, and they all mocked it and trivialized it. I think it was disgusting.
No.
Was it disgusting for Destiny to ridicule Charlie Kirk?
Destiny. All right, let me fix this shit. Oh, that's so. This cam's not as good. I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot I can't do that. Okay, let's continue.
I think so. Yeah, I said so at the time. Yeah, okay. I said it was disgusting.
And
I had DGG in my audience that were pushing back. I said, I don't think this is funny. I don't think this is a funny moment right now. I think he's.
What is he culpable for, if anything?
I think he's culpable for, in that moment, for contributing to a culture of political violence through his rhetoric.
Isn't that the Republican argument?
No, the Republican argument would be like Destiny himself is like directly responsible because of this, that, or the other thing. But we're getting into more abstract kind of ideas, right?
Then that's the scope of my claim with respect to Denims. You can't conflate the moral ethical obligation with respect to the substantive act.
I didn't though, but I still think
Denims is specifically different in that she directly did call for someone to do that. No cam on YouTube. I miss the old men of optic days. RIP 2016.
I think it was antisocial. And I think all of those creators they have that power. I think all of those creators abused the influence that they had. They're all like drunk with power on their own, in their own like way. And I think they knew that they have that power. They know they have that influence, and they all knowingly used it, knowing full well that the risk would go up of something like this happening, and they did it anyways.
Let's deal with Kaceytron. What act? So the vindictiveness or the aggression or the anger at Kaceytron is justified because
they all did the same thing. Is my point. They all justified the CPS claims, joked about it, continued to say that it was justified. Like they
What if anything did Kaceytron say about it? Do you know?
I'd have to pull up the videos. It's been a minute, but all of them did that. Is the point?
You don't want me to do what you did to me, right? Because I'm gonna say, what, you don't even know the basic things of what they said, and you haven't done your bare research.
I know for a fact. You can ask my stream.
You understand that's annoying, right? That's fucking annoying to do. Like
because I can't remember particulars, but I'm telling you, like, you can ask my stream. We've watched plenty of Kaceytron clips. We've watched plenty of videos dissecting what all these various creators said. I smoked a lot of pot for a lot of years, and I can't give you particulars, but I'm telling you, they all joked about it, justified it, continued to justify it. That's the point.
Okay, and given that the fact that they joked about, let's say assume that Kaceytron joked about the CPS call. All right, I'm going to assume that for the purposes of the next stage of what we're talking about, that she joked about the CPS call. Therefore, it's justified to, supposing this is the motivation, to sue her on that basis alone.
I think it's justified to want to impose consequences, and the debate would be about, like, is this an appropriate consequence? And I've already told you I'm somewhat agnostic on that. Like, I'm somewhat conflicted because I'm sympathetic to his desire for like a sense of justice, or a sense of like wanting to punish the people who you feel contributed in their own way to your family, like suffering and your own personal suffering. But I'm also sympathetic to like, I don't want Denims to be her wages garnished for the rest of her life, or
like,
I do.
Like, you wouldn't want them to be financially destitute, right? For laughing.
I mean, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. You know, that's just
and obviously, like, they shouldn't be beat up for joking about it, right? They shouldn't be beat up. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't be banned for it. Should they be banned?
I wouldn't condone violence. I mean, I
they should be banned for it. Absolutely, especially Denims. Yes.
As far as they should be banned, like, I think it would be justified for some kind of penalty. I don't know if I've ever advocated that people be permanently banned from Twitch, but the fact that like that crowd, they have impunity, with so much shit that nobody else would get away with. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the people
that could be true.
Okay.
I'm not here to deny that. That's why I think that the level of research I've done is appropriate for the scope of my claims. Is I'm not making a claim that they have gotten away with stuff. I'm not making a claim that they're good or bad people. I'm not making the claim that they haven't said shit that by itself is reprehensible.
You're just defending them for no reason.
I don't think it's justified to make sort of implications that on the bare thing that Ethan said, even the Giardia thing. I think it's disgusting, oversharing that you would say that, but that's just my own personal taste. I don't think that it's justified to conclude that therefore it's negligence. I don't, and I think that anyone who does, you need more facts to establish negligence in that context than mere fact. But just because I think that doesn't mean that I think that they're culpable for the underlying thing. And here's
you said she was
facts about the what's that?
You
culpable
said
for.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
You said not the substantive thing, but for failure to moderate or whatever, the negligence perhaps in that, but not if like with the.
It's like Diaz talking about rebar. You're guilty of laughter. I don't get the reference.
Back to the actual CPS.
Pisco trying to get into that Hasan orbit. True. That's obviously what he's doing here. Or I don't know if it's specifically that, but it's he's clearly trying to pander to like all the lefties in his audience, of which there are many.
That's the difference.
I don't know how to make sense of that in my mind. Like, she's negligent because she did something that increased the risk of something happening, and then
she's not just negligent, she's directly culpable, at least to a degree. You can say she's not the greatest, like the primary like guilty party or whatever the fuck, but she's absolutely morally culpable 100%.
That thing happened, but because she didn't do the exact thing, you know, it's really kind of trivial, her negligence. I don't know how to make sense of that. That doesn't make any sense to me. I can't reconcile those two things.
There are evidentiary problems on all this, right? So there's an evidentiary problem that the kind of risk by making these kinds of like cute little, guys, whoa, that this increases significantly the risk of someone calling CPS. I don't think that that's established, and that
The Pisco doesn't think that if a streamer tells their audience someone should call CPS on someone, that it increases the chances that someone calls CPS on that person. Is he being fucking serious? This is crazy. Bro's unhinged.
any one of those jokes or something, or even intimations that something is wrong, the conclusion therefore is that there's a substantial and unjustifiable risk that a CPS call will occur. So even just on the empirical case for this being a significant risk, I don't think that the people who are claiming that it's a significant risk have made their case for that. Secondly, to the extent that they have any culpability, so far the evidence, I think you'd agree with this, doesn't show that they intentionally tried to actualize a CPS call. Fair?
I don't think so.
That, right?
I could be wrong.
So,
There's some clips I haven't seen.
People should not treat them as though they intended it. Fair?
No, wait, but hang on. Like,
should they treat them? Wait. Should they treat them? First, answer that, and then you can explain.
So I'm trying to go back to answer the question. Though.
I understand, but I just want to hear this first. Should people treat them as though they intended the CPS call on current facts?
I think people should treat them as though they explicitly justified it to their audiences.
That's not what I'm saying. That they intended for this to occur and they wanted it to occur.
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to ask her, but that's not. I mean, that's not even the most relevant consideration, though. Like, that kind of doesn't matter. Like, was she intending for someone in her audience to do something? She knew she was taking a risk. She knew that she was being well, maybe she didn't, but like, I think she knew. I think all of them knew that they were, I think they were like dog whistling about it. I think they thought Ethan was evil, and I think that they think that making him suffer was justified. That's what all of their rhetoric and behavior.
100% they did.
Do you think that they should be treated as though they intended for this result to occur?
I think it's understandable for Ethan to view it that way.
No, the question is whether let me explain. Let me try to explain.
Let me try to explain my thinking.
You can say that I don't know. That's fine.
But no, let me try to explain, because like, yeah. Like, even if, like, again, even if we could specify, okay, the person came from Denims audience, okay, the fact that it could have been any of them, that's the point. So like,
yeah, it's not just that it could have been them, it's that it's 100% certain it was one of them, and there's like a 95% chance. I don't know why we're having these fake conversations. So boring. It was Denims audience that did that, to be clear.
Even if it came from her, like, so that sense of like imposing responsibility in a collective way, that's where that comes from, because it's like it could have been, it easily could have been any of their audiences.
But what my question I'm asking isn't whether you can impose some level of responsibility, because we've already had the discussion and we're going around circles on it. My question is not precisely that. It's, should they be treated, and not do you understand whether Ethan could have that view. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking on Ethan's view. I'm asking on your view and only your view. Should people treat them as though they intended for this result to occur? Not on Ethan's view.
Honestly, to a certain extent, yeah. Honestly,
in virtue of what?
In virtue of the fact that they continued to justify it after the fact. Like, it already happened the first time. So if you're justifying it after the fact, we're like, actually, I think it was good that CPS got called. Are you not?
So you should treat them,
wait, hold on.
You should treat them as though they wanted it to occur and were intending it to occur.
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
After the fact, they're saying, actually, it's good that they were called. It was justified. Are they not significantly contributing to the risk of it happening again at that point?
I mean, I don't happen to agree with that.
Is it all memes? Are they all joking? Should I not take them at their word, or what?
No, I don't think that mere justification of an act,
what is that emote?
By itself entails that it's significant for the act to reoccur, that you've increased the risk. I think that there's more of a burden that you need to show. I don't think that.
To me, that event was like just such a clear case of almost sociopathic levels of harassment. And if you're after the fact saying it was a good thing that it happened, I think
by the way?
All of them. They
all said it was.
Oh, is he dabbing?
All of them justified. All of them.
They all said it was good that CPS was called.
Yes.
I haven't seen that. I mean, I've been having these debates for. I even think Ethan backed away from that claim. Didn't he make a video saying he never alleged that Denims was responsible or justified it?
No, what he said was that Denims didn't tell his audience to call CPS. That's what he said.
So what do you take to be the justification that for the CPS call specifically that Denim said? Do you
After
have any
the-
even like notion of what was said? That after
We just saw
she, like,
that.
laughed about it?
Hold on. We just saw that. We just saw the same video.
That was before. That was before.
That was before. That's even worse.
That is
But
even
that
worse.
wasn't her justifying CPS call, right?
Of course it was. What do you mean? Of course it was.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
His kids have Giardia and they might die.
Is that a justification for a CPS call?
Yes.
Yes.
No, wait, hang on a second.
What do you
mean?
What the fuck is he
The
saying?
mere fact that a child contracts a disease, an illness, even through a potential like a negligence event, that is not justification for a CPS call.
No.
Justification for CPS call would be something like this: wow, they're a danger. Like I think that CPS should be called, or someone should talk to the government about this, or this would like people need to check in on his kids and
Bro's
like, go to the
bugging.
authorities. Those are things that sound like justification for intervention.
She said, or very explicitly implied,
On a stack, bro.
Ethan's kids might die. That's not a
but
justification to call CPS?
No, it's not.
What?
No, it's not.
Come on, bro. What are we doing here?
So the mere fact
I'm getting a
that
little frustrated with you. Of course, that's why CPS exists, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she was right about her analysis of like Giardia. Apparently Giardia is like very common, but she was telling her audience like that they have this thing and they might die. That's what she said. CPS exists for that.
So if I had that view, you're saying if I had the view that this is dangerous to the child and that they were negligent, that means I'm justifying CPS call?
Yes.
If you're telling your audience that someone's
what?
kids might die because they're being neglected, then yes, that's an obvious, like assume she was correct, right? Like assume she was correct and they were being neglected and they might die. Is that a justification to call CPS?
Yeah, no, like I think that someone could use that as part of their justification to call CPS.
No.
That's different.
No. Is it a
justification?
justification?
You're not understanding. No, you need an additional assumption. You need an additional argument to call CPS. So I'll give you an example, right? So there are I'll give you an example because you're going to agree with this one, right? So if someone says, if you don't vaccinate your kids, it's dangerous to the health of your kids. And look, these guys aren't vaccinating their kids, and it's dangerous to the health of their kids, and they could die if they don't get vaccinated. Look, there's something going on. Is that justification to call CPS? Is that person justifying CPS calls? Yes or no?
In their minds and to their audience, yes.
No.
Yes.
The mere fact that you're saying that people are imperiling the lives of their kids is not a justification for calling CPS. And the example I just provided, you would never say if a liberal said, like, I'll just
You're not understanding my point. You're not understanding my point. You're sailing past my point.
Oh my God!
I'm saying
it crushes your argument.
No.
It crushes your fucking argument.
The question, it's not about whether or not Giardia actually represented as a mortal threat to the kid. That's not the point. She was claiming that the kids were going to die because they were being neglected. And so people in her audience
they're gonna die. Wait, did she claim they're gonna die?
That's what you just watched the same clip, man. Do you need to watch it again? We watched it twice now.
Okay, so
she said kids can die from this, bro. That's what she said.
Okay,
True,
so
she did say that.
this is the context in which
Pisco.
I'm giving you. I'm trying to apply your
Pisco,
standard
come on.
to a case to see if you're consistent. This is called testing you. It's an internal critique. I'm trying to see if you're being consistent.
This
right?
is so fucking
if
stupid.
a liberal is watching a video of some conservative say, I didn't get my kids are totally unjabbed and on everything. I didn't give them the jab of anything. I don't give it on COVID. Let me finish the question, Hutch. On COVID, I didn't give them the jab on MMR. I didn't give them this on anything. And frankly, I think the health results speak for themselves, and they're fine. And a liberal commentator says, this is very dangerous. They could die of these various different illnesses. This is so negligent.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes or no them justifying calling CPS?
In their minds, yes.
No.
Or it could justify some significant intervention.
So if someone calls CPS in virtue of that statement, would you apply culpability to the person?
Get it off
this is perfect. This is like the perfect. Hang on. No, this is the perfect.
Wouldn't.
Okay, say what you want to say, and then let me say what I want to say.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so let's say I'm like a super pro-vax like YouTuber streamer guy, and like my content is like focused on like Pfizer being fucking awesome and all the vaccines being so great. And let's say I cultivated an audience of like thousands of people. And my whole thing is that, you know, like MAGA parents are putting their kids at risk for that they might kill their kids because
vaccines
they might get COVID,
aren't
they might
real.
die.
Yeah, you
And
might
then
want
I
to
said,
fact check that
and
one,
then
buddy.
I
We might need to get
implied,
Snopes in here.
Yes,
I'm not worth a heel, I
and then
guess.
somebody
Okay.
in my audience or shortly after this happened, like called the authorities and tried to have government intervention. Like this is a like this is a plausible. Would I be partly responsible?
We're gonna get there in time.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. So if afterwards the streamer
What?
comes up, you would not be.
There's no
This is
way
not-
you think
this
that.
is- so-
I don't think you think
I
that.
literally do. This is how.
Yeah, no, Pisco's full of shit here, man.
So if afterwards someone called CPS on the anti-vaxxer or whatever, and the streamer came out and said, "Guys, why the fuck did you do this? This is wrong."
Insanity.
No one would be like, "Hang on, you justified the call of CPS." They'd be like, "No, that's not what I said.
Sure,
I didn't justify
sure
it."
they might. Sure they might. What do you
No, but
mean?
who would have the better of the argument? The guy who
That
said,
doesn't
"Yes,
matter.
you told me
Who
to do it."
cares? The argument doesn't need to be good.
Who has the better of the argument doesn't matter.
She was making a shitty, unscientific claim, as she often does, by the way. She was making a bad claim. It's not true that like that the Giardia was as deadly as she was presenting. I think like a quarter of kids in the country at any given time have Giardias or something like that. But that's not what she told her audience. She told her audience that Ethan's kids might die.
The example I'm giving you is one in which the same kind of thing. These kids could die if they don't get vaccinated. You understand the lethality rate for this?
No, but there's precedent. But there's legal precedent. Like, right? Like, I think people generally kind of, or they could.
Yeah, but
Google
that's
stuff,
actually true.
Like, when is it appropriate to call CPS? If it was true that Ethan was neglecting his kids in the way that they were suggesting, then it would be justified to call CPS, right? That there's a legal precedent for that, right?
There's an additional inference that you need to make that I would impose on anyone claiming that this person is culpable for that action. That I could say something like this. Like, so I'll just tell you, right?
No,
like,
you didn't answer my question though.
Wait, what was your question? Sorry, I missed it then.
Gambit, fucking heal me, bro. Oh my
if you
god.
found out that parents were neglecting their kids to the extent that the kids were literally like playing with dog shit and contracting what is it, a viral disease? Whatever it is?
I'm not a doctor.
Okay. If you knew that parents were let's leave out Giardia. If you knew that there were some parents out there that were neglecting their kids so much that the kids were playing with dog shit just like all throughout the day, would you be justified in calling CPS?
I'm not sure that you would be, but on those facts alone.
What the fuck is Pisco saying, bro?
In my view,
there's no way you think this. There's no way you think this.
What I'm saying is, they're very different things, right? Like that a person making the argument that it would just be justified on those facts, that's different. Like if someone were to give out those facts and ask you the question, is it justified to call CPS? Then congratulations, you justified CPS. But there's an additional inference that needs to be made that government intervention in this specific case is warranted. And there could be a ton of contravening factors that would cause someone to say, notwithstanding that it's negligent, notwithstanding that there's a risk of a kid being materially affected in terms of their health, that calling CPS is still not justified given X, Y, Z. There's an additional set of inferences and considerations that any reasonable person is going to think about, especially half of these people who don't even think the police should exist and think that like everything should be fucking social workers and there should be no coercive force of the state at all. So all I'm saying is you haven't made your case alone by saying that they call justified CPS.
This is the dumbest debate ever now. It's just boring. Pisco's been obviously grifting for like 2 hours. Oh shit. I'm taking screenshots by accident, bro.
Here is less of an inference given the fact that she didn't actually say that. She just kind of like,
No. Like, she said that kids will die from that disease. That she agreed that BadEmpanada was like. She agreed with all that. She said that kids die from that. And it's very serious. Like, what if a kid went to school and told his teacher, "My parents neglect me all day, and I play in dog shit"? Would the teacher be legally obligated to call the authorities?
That's different. Yeah, no, I think that there could be a duty to report in those circumstances. But that's a separate question. It's whether the individual That's a separate question from whether the individual who made such claims is themselves justifying CPS to be called. Someone could make that claim. You acknowledge. I want to hear you acknowledge this. All right. Someone could make that report and say, "Yeah, I saw them playing in dog shit." And then let's say the teacher is a mandatory reporter, calls CPS, and then they go there, and the person who said that, "What the fuck? Why did you call CPS? I didn't want you to do that." And there's no contradiction there. Agreed? Yes or no?
I don't follow.
Okay, the example is as follows. A kid, or let's say another adult, a fellow adult talks to a teacher and says, Billy, they're letting them play in like this very dangerous backyard. I don't think that it makes sense. I just, I don't know what to do about it. Tell the teacher understands their obligations that they're mandatory reporter or whatever. And they go and say that, and then the teacher comes back and says, "I had to take your shit to the higher ups." And then the person who reported it says, "What the hell? I trusted you. Why did you call that? That was wrong to do. Why'd you do that?"
Well, we're talking about a hypothetical kid in this situation, right?
Oh my God. The question is there an inconsistency between the person who made that complaint and them being frustrated and upset that CPS was called? Is there an inconsistency? No, there's not, Hutch. No, there's not. Someone could take the view that notwithstanding the risk to the child, that notwithstanding the fact that there's perceived negligence, that the cost and harm of calling CPS is not justified given the circumstances. Yes. And you need to make an additional inference before you make the claim that they justified it, unless you're willing to grant the vaccine cases, which
Pisco's the type of dude to watch somebody getting assaulted and do nothing about it.
I don't even know. True. Like, are you even trying to distinguish those? How are you even?
Except he's actually not. He's just like, he's the type of dude to fucking lie about his beliefs to make money.
Trying to distinguish those.
What I'm getting at is what Denims alleged. She supported these claims. She agreed with the claims and expanded on them. The claim that she was...
They've gone through the same line of argument like 14 times. Pisco's just like, bullshit. This is a waste of time. Please.
Was that
spare me.
Ethan's kids are being so severely neglected that they're playing in dog poop and contracting serious diseases that can kill them.
Right. Those are facts from which one could justify.
An hour and a half of this, bro? Really?
CPS. Yes. They are not themselves a justification for CPS.
But I'm not making that claim. I didn't make that claim.
Okay.
Didn't make that claim.
But the whole point of raising this is to say the mere fact that someone has that opinion, you should not carry with that the intent that they want to actualize the state of affairs in which CPS is in fact called. And what I'm calling out
that's insane. What Pisco just said.
Based on these statements, that they were advocating it happened, and we should treat them as such.
But
that was your claim too.
But she didn't present it as an opinion. She presented it as a fact. Ethan's kids are being severely neglected. They're playing in shit, and they're contracting diseases that might kill them. And that is why. That is why I'm trying to demonstrate. You said before that her lack of moderation was negligent, and I'm trying to demonstrate why it was negligent. Just because what she said, somebody who's watching her stream, who takes her as a good faith actor, who takes her at her word, might feel justifiably concerned about Ethan's kids because of that lie.
That's true of anyone who even watches the video at all, even to do the bare minimum of criticizing the view. The mere fact that someone could, right, doesn't mean that it's likely. No.
It's not the same thing, bro. If you're watching a video and criticizing it, you're saying, well, it's kind of the same thing as like her saying, no, his kids are going to die. It's not the same thing, man.
If you keep running into the same wall, I'm gonna bring it up every time. The mere you don't need to just show that it's possible that someone could have that interpretation. What you need to show is that they either intended it or that it's extremely likely that it would occur given those statements. And I just don't see a case for that.
Okay.
But that's we haven't even reached the lawsuit aspect of it. This is just to I think this is an insanely harsh standard. And I'm not just saying that because they're fucking lefties. Fuck them. And they did this shit with fucking Kamala and whatever. I don't think that they endorsed Kamala and all this other shit about the election. I'm not here. I'm just here because I'm noticing shit and it's making people upset that this kind of spirit of moderation, where they're responsible for the substantive acts because they fail to moderate responsibly, that is a standard that ought not be applied to people across the board. And it is not applied to people across the board.
So she was negligent, but she has no responsibility.
She is negligent to the extent of violating the obligation to minimize risk, because I think that there's some amount of risk.
Okay.
What she's not culpable for is the actual calling of CPS.
Nobody
That's
made that
what she's
claim.
not culpable for.
Nobody made that claim.
They are making the claim.
No, they
Hutch. What the
didn't.
fuck?
Who?
Are
Who
you
said-
even in the Discord?
Who said that she like called CPS? Who's saying that?
No. Culpable for the CPS call doesn't mean she literally called CPS. All right. Culpable means morally responsible for the CPS call.
She obviously she is obviously ethically responsible to moderate her audience and to be responsible with her rhetoric.
I agree with that.
Like every other creator. And there were very serious consequences that happened as a result of actions that they all took. They all did it. All of them did the same thing. And they're all, in my opinion, responsible for that.
As though they're intentional actors here and wanted the outcome to occur.
Yeah.
I don't think that you would ever apply that standard to
I would.
anybody of your no.
You think you think this is about the fact that they're like lefties? That's what this is about, really?
No, if I call, so for example, I call a bunch of MAGA people in the administration and these influencers fascist. You agree that could lead someone reasonably to take that as we should kill them.
No, we have a different. We have a different opinion about reasonableness here, because fascism is a real thing. There's descriptors. You can make the case in this, that, and the other thing, and then you can also make the case that the way that no. The difference again is that like there is no element of you even remotely implying that it would be justified to do political violence. The difference between that and Denims is that she did lay out her justification, an attempt at a sincere justification to involve.
You wouldn't say because I called Charlie Kirk a fascist. Now someone could take that statement and believe it's true, and then justify the action against Charlie Kirk. But I am not justifying. No, this is what Republicans do, right? They think because I call Charlie Kirk a fascist that I am saying he should be killed. But that's an inference that I didn't make. The scope of my claims are the scope of my claims. Now, there could be instances in which one could imply it. I'm not saying I'm not a literalist, okay? And don't try to paint me as a literalist. I'm not a literalist. But from what I saw of Denims, there is not even an implication there that what she wants to see, what she wants to actualize, is the state of affairs in which CPS is called. And even Ethan has backed away from that claim, as I understand it.
Nonetheless, her and all of them contributed in their own ways with their own communities.
Just like I did to Charlie Kirk.
No, I don't find this analogous at all. Can you
explain why they're different?
Because you are trying to make the case that it is plausible that she didn't see what was going on in her chat. Like you're trying to, and I don't accept that. I don't find that plausible. I think that's ridiculous. I think she obviously saw that. And
first base thing Pisco said, what did he say?
I suspect that's why she started to go down that road rhetorically, even talking about that. I think she was bouncing off of them at that point. I think that is the logical inference.
What I'm telling you is a Republican can come back and say, listen, I don't care. Pisco didn't moderate his chat when they were calling Kirk fascist. There were people in his chat saying Kirk is a Nazi.
No, that's not the same.
No, why not? Explain why.
To make it the same, you would have to have people in your chat that were saying we should unalive Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, if Pisco said that, he's lying.
Explicitly.
Yes.
Explicitly. And if the case is that if I see that and don't moderate the thing, I'm responsible for Kirk's death. I want to hear you say that.
I would say in that moment that you were responsible for contributing to a culture of political violence. Yes, I would say that about you.
So without any evidence that Tyler Robinson, that first of all, that my contribution.
No, we would have to not know who shot him for this to be analogous, right?
So at the time, I saw someone say kill Charlie Kirk, and I'm just like, whatever, I'm not going to ban this guy. At that moment, I am contributing to a culture that could cause the death of Charlie Kirk, and so I'm partly culpable if he's killed.
I see where you're going with this, but but in that moment, you would be contributing in your own way. I think that is like a much more kind of abstract kind of situation here, because Charlie Kirk has the attention of like so many other people, so it's almost like infinitely bigger than what we're talking about right now. Whereas what I'm talking about is a very specific group of like a dozen people who were all pushing the same thing about this situation. But I would say in that moment that you were being irresponsible. I grant that though. I grant that. But the question isn't, am I being irresponsible? I'm going to keep going to this. All right, we're quibbling about like culpability. We're quibbling about the word culpable.
That's
And
precisely what we're doing.
it's a difference of opinion. I think we've reached the point where it's just like agree to disagree. I do
A bit of
think
bedrock.
It's not even that. It's just we've reached a point of Pisco realizes his audience is full of lefty dipshits, and so he has to pander to them.
I do
Okay, so-
think you have a responsibility, and I think they all
Wait, no, but when you say that
they
it's implying
all
that I
like
think that they don't.
danced and joked about
Don't-
this situation, and it
don't
was
say it
fucking
like-
disgusting.
Don't say it like I don't think they have a responsibility. You just heard me
You
acknowledge
don't.
that I think
You
they
don't think they have a responsibility. You've made that like abundantly clear, bro. What the fuck are you talking
have a
about?
responsibility for moderating and applying standards of decency and whatever and all that stuff. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying is they don't have a culpable responsibility for the specific malicious act underneath.
No,
it.
but you just said a
So
moment
that's what
ago.
I'm saying.
You just said a moment ago that there's a non-zero chance that Denims rhetoric and behavior that day indirectly led to it happening. You said there was a non-zero chance,
There's
right?
a non-zero chance that yours did, right?
No, there's not. You would
Is
agree.
there
They are significantly different. There is a greater than 90% chance that Denims' rhetoric that day led to the CPS call.
Non-zero chance that yours
You would
did.
agree that there's a significant difference.
Is there a
between-
non-zero chance yours did? That
What
was a
would you
sufficient condition for you.
estimate are the chances
No,
that it
I'm
came
not-
from
you
my
applied a
audience
condition. So
versus
you applied a-
Denims?
You applied.
I want you to answer that
applied a-
question.
Yeah. So I think that yours is probably smaller, but you
How
applied
much
a sufficient
smaller? I
condition.
want to give me a percentage.
Probably giving the scope of your audience and your statements, in my opinion, significantly smaller. But hang on.
No,
a second.
I want a number. I want a number. What's the percentage likelihood that it came from my audience versus Denims? If you had to pick numbers.
I think orders of magnitude, maybe
Okay,
something
then
like.
stop. Then stop, man. Come on.
But Hutch, listen to my thing. You said that a sufficient condition is non-zero chance. That's your standard. So I acknowledge that there's a difference between the likelihood between your audience and hers. But what you said, right? I'm just reflecting your standard. What you said to me, and I just want to remind you. You said, but you acknowledge there's a non-zero chance. And so I come to you. Well, you agree in your case there's a non-zero chance. And so you say, well, isn't there a difference between us? Yeah. But so we have to actually get in the weeds about what we think is significant.
But do you know
you don't
why?
want to get in those weeds.
No, but
and that's
no,
why
we can. There's a big difference here in this situation because you know why I'm not culpable. You know why I could
Why?
rest my head at night knowing that I didn't contribute to it.
Because you condemned it.
I never fucking made the claim that it was justified to call CPS, and I never would ever. No matter how much I dislike the creator, I would never ever.
Yes, Denims did do that. 1000%. Yes. Why the fuck is Pisco saying this?
Allow my chat
you said,
to do that.
You said you're not culpable because you didn't make the claim that it would be justified to call CPS.
And I
Did
actively
in
moderate
fact,
my
did Denims,
chat.
Did Denims? Wait, so I'll just ask them one at a time. Did Denims make the claim that it would be justified to call CPS? Did she make the claim? Did she make the statement?
Why are we circling? Are we
Is the answer
circling?
no?
Are we
Is the answer
circling?
no?
Are we circling back to this for the fourth time now? The three
so you
factors.
just-
We're back
so the
there.
three-
We're back there now.
These are like ad hoc factors that you've created that it's
Ad hoc? What are you talking?
Yeah.
They're not relevant. What do you
what I'm
mean?
saying, they're outcome oriented. They're
100% Denims fan called CPS. How's Pisco even arguing this? Yeah, because he has to.
the three sacred factors.
Because he's scared of his audience.
Because these are what you think that for the purpose of getting to the results you want. Those are.
I mean, the alternative is that he's like extremely fucking stupid, which is possible, maybe, but I don't think so. I think he's just afraid of upsetting his audience, so he has to defend these like horrible people, which in turn makes him a horrible person. But
the ones that matter to you. But the three factors that you're
No, they
talking
matter
about
just because they matter, bro. I'm telling you why she was irresponsible.
Okay, but hang on. I grant that it was irresponsible. So
I'm telling
why
you
are
how she was
saying-
negligent.
I don't know why you keep doing this, right? I granted in the first second that it was irresponsible. Do you remember when I granted that in the first second? Do you remember that? I'm asking that question.
Yeah, but I can't reconcile it with everything else you're saying, though, because it's like,
you really don't see a difference between ethical responsibility versus one obligation with respect to your moderation and the responsibility for the underlying malicious act. You really don't understand the difference between those two.
I mean, I recall earlier in this conversation, you were saying like she didn't have an ethical responsibility to moderate her chat. And then now it sounds like you're singing a different tune.
I never said that, Hutch.
Well, we'd have to go back in the fucking stream, but I'm pretty sure you said that.
Go in the VOD. Go
Pretty
in
sure.
the fucking VOD, man. I was consistent. You said, does it increase the risk? Yes. Is there an ethical obligation? Ought she do it? I said, yeah, she ought not play the. Actually, I'm going to ask you. Do you remember when I said that she should not have played that BadEmpanada clip? Do you remember when I said that?
Not really. My brain's mush at this point.
So like, why? If you're not remembering,
No, it's because I'm
things that I said in
frazzled
the-
because my brain is fried trying to walk you through my thinking here and trying to like navigate your craftiness, your caginess, your lawyer tricks.
Craftiness.
Trying to do
He is being crafty and cagey and tricky. True.
tricks, bro.
He's being a debate bro, like to the absolute, like maxed out, like he's employing every fallacy, every strategy here. It's crazy.
Yeah, you are.
It's their rights or infringements of privacy or malicious conduct. That those kinds of implications are different as between those two ethical obligations. That is a very simple, clean concept, and that's not confusing at all. And it ought not be confusing for you either.
Sorry, my stream is experiencing problems. It does this.
Oh,
I don't know
no.
why. I don't know why it's doing this. It's weird. It's the same time every day at like 3:30. I start dropping hella frames, and it gets bad. And I don't know what.
It's Newsom's rolling blackouts, man. These California people, they want to turn our country into Russia.
I don't
Soviet
know what
Russia. Where
causes
there's
it. Hey, listen.
blackouts.
At the end of the day, I think you think that Ethan's actions were disproportionate, and I already told you, like, I'm open to that. So I don't even know what we're arguing about. Like, I'm open to the idea that, like, and I don't have a good answer for you, like, I don't know. I can't tell you if it's like too much or if it's appropriate. All
Debate necrophile.
I can tell you is
Holy.
that if I was in Ethan's
He's
position,
unlocked a new achievement, bro.
I fully understand his desire to
but
try to impose
The question
consequences.
isn't, do you understand it, right?
Yes.
I understand that on Ethan's view, it's trivially obvious that he would understand that he would have that view because he's the one doing it.
And he'd
the
be
question isn't
justified.
on his view.
And he'd be
it's
justified.
on your view as you.
No, but I'm
Oh,
trying to
so
give you
it's
the
your
best
view that it
answer I
is
can, and
justified.
I'm not trying to be a cop out. I'm not trying to give you a cop out answer. Like, I'm really not. Like,
But how it feels is like, you ever have those Israel-Palestine debates where people are like, I understand why Israel would do this. I understand if I was Israel, why they would do this. Or I understand why, or even from the leftist perspective, I understand why Hamas would do that. And
Yeah.
if I was in the Hamas shoes.
I've had those
but that isn't
conversations.
the
I've said
question,
those
right? Like,
words.
who the fuck cares? Like, that's just trivial. It's obvious that if you're Hamas, you're gonna understand. You're gonna like have the sympathies that Hamas does, and same thing with Ben Gavir. Or
I've
whatever
had
the
those
fuck, or
conversations. I've had literally those conversations. So, like, I understand.
But that is useless, like masturbation. It's not like the question is.
I don't think it's
do we
useless.
think
I mean,
on our views.
No, I don't think it's useless because, like, listen, like, there is no like science to this. You know what I mean? Like, there just isn't. We can't. You can try to appeal with like laws of logic and that kind of stuff, but like, there is no like explicitly correct answer here, and I am trying to be nuanced, and that's not me like trying to wiggle out of taking your position or whatever. Like, I am sympathetic to like all the parties involved here. I'm less sympathetic to Denims these days, to be honest with you. I'm less sympathetic to
Yeah, Denims deserves everything that's coming to her, frankly.
her because I just, I don't know if you saw her recent stream, but it's a bit much. Like,
sympathetic for Kaceytron if you think she did this horrible thing and that she's culpable for this
Because Kaceytron, Denims is evil. Kaceytron is just mentally unwell.
awful. You called her sociopathic. Do you realize you call her sociopathic?
yeah, I think
Why
she
would you
did
feel
a.
sympathy?
Who cares, Pisco? Why is he like so eager to defend these people? These are horrible people.
Why would you feel sympathy for a sociopath? I just don't understand on your view how you could feel that.
I feel sympathy for people that get the death penalty. I feel sympathy for people that are, in prison for the rest of their
Do you feel
lives.
sympathy for Hitler? Is that what you mean? The Kanye West version of
you're really testing my morals here, but like, no, I do try to empathize with people that I don't even like. Like, I do try to, I do have sympathy for people that have done terrible things.
Sociopaths that want to do horrible things that are malicious in all their
Sure.
conduct.
Yeah.
And that want to take Ethan's kids away. You feel sympathetic for them.
Yeah. Of course.
And you don't want to ruin financially sociopaths who only produce malice and bad things in the world. I mean,
depends on the day you ask me.
I think that's
Depends on the day you ask me and what mood I'm in, I suppose, right? Isn't that what it is to be a human being? Like, do we really have perfectly consistent kind of?
I guess.
Like,
you know what? I'll grant you this, Hutch. There are some times when I'm like, you know what? Hitler didn't choose to have the brain he did. These sociopaths, they are born / nurtured in a particular way that makes them the way they are.
Yeah.
But I didn't, for some reason, I didn't think that that's what you were talking about, that ultimately elastic version of sympathy when you were talking about Kaceytron. It seemed like you weren't sympathetic in the sense of, well, I'm sympathetic to all beings, regardless of what causes them. I thought that you were saying something more particular about her circumstances and like that don't have to do with like this kind of like ultimately totally expansive version.
No, it's like both.
Sympathy.
It's both of those things. Like, you know, the idea of like everybody in her, I don't know if she's supporting her family. I'm not 100% up to date on her situation there, but no, I wouldn't like the idea of like her family, you know, losing their home or something like that if they were relying on her for income.
Overall, it's beneficial. Then like, okay, maybe you feel some sympathy, but like, she deserves it. She deserves to have to pay.
He
all
didn't
this
do
money,
that though.
right?
He didn't do that though.
No, I'm asking you. Like, do you think that she deserved what she got?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though the copyright infringement has literally zero to do with
yes,
what
yeah.
we're talking about.
I think she deserved that little walk of shame. Yeah, I think she earned that. I'm glad she doesn't have to pay money for the rest of her life.
Are you
I
think?
think, but I think
the
she
other day you agreed
deserved
it was an
that.
insincere apology. Do you often like people to give insincere apologies and you get gratification out of it?
What kind of a question is this? Is not a very normal thing that comes up in life, does it? Yeah.
I don't know why people get like satisfaction out of these like fake apologies that aren't actual like just desserts. Maybe in the sense of like,
well, do you?
If I was pushed that what they did was like truly horrendous or whatever, the mere fact that it's maybe it is a deterrent effect of some kind, but that's just going to ground out into our priors about and evidence for the purpose of the lawsuit. So maybe that's what why there's a distinction.
Well, do you think that there should have been any consequences for what they did?
For copyright infringement?
No. Well, sure. I mean, I don't know. That's a separate discussion. I don't care about that discussion. But like, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about
Isn't
this.
that the whole purpose? Like the whole purpose is whether or not we agree with the lawsuits, and the lawsuits are about copyright infringement. Like,
it's about the, I mean, it's about the lawsuit specifically, but it's more about just this idea of like imposing consequences on somebody who violated your family. Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah, but you don't agree with beating them up.
Sure. I obviously think that I don't think they should be killed, you know, either.
You don't think
like,
someone should, I mean, you don't think that someone should call CPS on them, right?
No, I don't. No, I think that was really bad.
You have your lines.
No, answer the question. Like, should there be any consequences, right? Like, it doesn't need to be legal, you know, but like some accountability, some kind of punishment, some kind of something, right?
Yes, they should get like a slap on the wrist from Twitch.
All right, then that's the disagreement. Just the severity of it. Like, we agree that she did a bad thing and she deserved consequences. We disagree. I think she got off, right? Like, what?
You should moderate your chat more so that they're not actively calling for CPS. That's what should happen.
And you definitely should not be joking about it after the fact.
It should be proportional and tailored to the kind of thing we're talking about here. That's number one. And number two, separately, if someone is being deceptive,
He settled though. He didn't make her destitute. All she had to do was apologize. All she had to do was get up there and prostrate herself a little bit and apologize.
What? So the apology was extracted by what?
He had leverage.
It was coerced by financial motivations, correct?
Because she violated copyright, correct?
Right. That don't relate in sum or substance to the underlying claim. Fair?
No. I think it's both. Like, I think he genuinely does care about like Lazy React, and I think he felt. But if I had to guess, I really don't know.
Bro, my fucking mic. Sorry. Whatever. Forget my point. I'm a moron.
No, if I had to guess, I would say he was probably more motivated by the abuse that his family suffered as a result of like a culture that arose out of all of their communities.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Don't you agree that he wanted them to infringe?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was setting a trap.
Yeah. So in what sense can you say he wanted to punish them for infringement and that this was a bad thing that was done to him?
It was an easy, predictable thing, you know?
He wanted, but you're saying he wanted it to occur.
Yeah.
Right? So the harm
but wanting something to occur, like I might want a bad thing to happen because I think a better thing will follow that bad thing. Like we're confronted with this in politics all the time, right?
Right. So right. So that's my point, that the thing that is achieving the better result isn't the grounding for the basis of what's going on. It's the pretext. It's a pretext. Do you agree it's a pretext?
But it is to a certain degree. But again, we disagree because I think it's both. I do think he does genuinely care about Lazy React. He obviously cares about it. He's had a history of caring about it. He confronted XQC about it, talked about it on his podcast all the time. So clearly this guy was already like, he does like give a fuck about that, right?
I mean, I grant that at least at some point he did care about the React community, that he did care about copyright infringement. What I deny is that this lawsuit is motivated by that concern. That's what I deny.
But where's your certainty though? Where do you get the certainty?
It's based on my what I think are reasonable inferences on a set of evidence. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, but you'd have to explain, like, so like you acknowledge that he has a history of talking about Lazy React, and he definitely cares about that, right? Okay,
yes,
so
that's
but
one of the reasons
that is gone.
No. That is part of my rationale for why it isn't motivating this. So the fact that he has a track record here is not helpful for him in this context, given the nature of what his stated rationale was. It's hurtful, and that seems preposterous to you. I can explain why.
I'm a little stuck on your thing of like, oh, well, why would you want the bad thing to happen when you're against the bad thing? But it's like, you could use that logic to say like, well, you know, like, why did the FBI do a sting operation where there was a drug transfer, you know, like selling drugs is bad, right? So that doesn't make any sense. Do you understand that logic is a little flawed?
What logic are you? I mean,
you're saying like, oh, well, how could you say he says he's against the thing, but he trapped them to do this?
The thing Pisco keeps doing where he finds some technical thing to hyper focus on is so irritating. Yeah, I mean, he has to do that, right? Because he's trying to defend an indefensible position, so he can't actually address anything head on. He has to find these little like strings hanging off to like cling on to in hopes of coming up with some coherent defense for the lefties, again, because he's pandering to his audience of lefties. So
the thing, and it's like, well, you know, I don't understand.
Listen, what I'm saying is, if you have a prior principle that one upholds and one sticks to the principle, then I think that justifies an inference that one is maintaining the principle. But if there's as opposed to a blank slate, if there's a previous principle and that one makes statements either in contradiction or that undermine that principle previously stated, I think that most people, in view of those, what I take to be an inconsistent application of previously stated principles, the inference usually from that is indicative of more deceit, right? A prior inconsistent statement and statements that don't make sense in light of each other, that from that, I think normally people intuit deception, okay? That this is not like
he was being deceptive in setting a trap, sure, you know?
Well, not merely that. I mean, that I think at a bare minimum you have to establish. And
but
also,
I don't see the issue with that, you know? Like, you're deceptive when you set a trap for like vermin in your garden. You know what I mean?
No, I understand that there are contexts in which deception can be justified. All right, that's not what I'm suggesting. The deception that I think is not justified is what he's stating to the audience, and this is what he's stating to the audience. That part of the reason, one of the main reasons, in fact, for bringing this lawsuit, is to set a precedent to protect the destruction of the React community as we know it.
Fucking way she goes, bro.
Absolutely shattering precedent that Disney or Sony could set. Those are his words, Hutch. Do you believe those words?
I have no reason to disbelieve them explicitly, to be honest, no.
Okay, the reason I disbelieve them is because A, they're not plausible. They're not plausible at all. The notion that Ethan might think that suing like Denims and Kaceytron and Frogan would at all affect the nature of Disney and Sony suing and establishing terrible precedent, that is preposterous. The more outlandish a belief is, the more unlikely it is that someone actually holds it. That's.
You think Hutch wakes up to the fact Pisco is being disingenuous or not? I think Hutch is aware of that and has been aware of that for a couple hours now. I think he probably doesn't want to believe it because Pisco's his friend, but I think Hutch is very aware of that.
That's only part. I mean, there's so much more.
Well, what if he's just wrong then? That wouldn't mean that he's lying. Like, what if he believes it but is wrong?
I understand that by itself, it doesn't necessarily prove to 100% certainty or even fucking a 90% certainty that that's what's going on. That's just part. I'm building blocks, all right? And you have to look at the wall as a whole, at the totality of circumstances. So the first piece of evidence is the rank and plausibility of the claim. The notion that someone who's fairly, learned about copyright infringement, this guy, had lawsuits regarding copyright infringement that he's lost before, I think, and he's also won against the bold guy, that he has this view that this intentional stated malice is the sine qua non of copyright infringement. The kind of way that he presents it in the video is preposterous. One, as a legal matter. Second, the notion that someone like that Ethan Klein thinks that when he establishes precedent on fair use, given his view that the vast majority of these kinds of React channels, that there's rampant theft, what he calls theft of intellectual property, that any kind of decision, any kind of legal decision, either from a legal precedent perspective, that legal precedent is going to protect the React community as opposed to significantly curtail the current meta, which is overwhelmingly infringing, is ludicrous. He must know that in pressing a claim on a reaction video, he is going to give the court an opportunity to opine on the 4 fair use factors. By the way, they're not exhaustive, but the 4 main fair use factors.
I read them yesterday.
In such a way, right. So for
Well, isn't Ethan's claim against these people strictly confined to the fact that he registered his work with the Library of Congress or whatever and made it very explicit in a legal sense that you have to get permission to reuse, redistribute, whatever the fuck, with the express written consent of the MLB or whatever?
For example, for purpose and character of the work, usually the main focus of the inquiry there is transformation. Any precedent on summary judgment or dispositive motion related to whether this is transformative or whether there's the character or purpose of use sides on the side of fair use, the court in coming to these determinations go through all the factors, and they're going to go, factor 1, this is not transformative. It's not transformative because look at the percentage of the video, look at how much commentary is in there, commercial purpose, is this providing sufficient commentary, how many portions of it include commentary such that you actually need this, and the tests start to merge because the purpose and character of the use merges with like the amount and substantiality. Here, Denims used all of it. She used the heart of the work. Was that necessary to the nature of her critique, especially when she's spending, this amount of time kind of giving just blithe remarks? Look at this precedent from SDNY with this judge in previous cases where it's more of like a watch party as opposed to, deliberately spliced things. Anyone with a single brain cell, and Ethan surely knows this, knows that these courts, they go 1, 2, 3, 4. And those factors aren't just going to bear poorly on Denims. It's going to bear poorly on the React meta as a whole. The specific thing he's saying, he has no intention to undermine. And that is with respect to XCC, et cetera. But we can keep going this.
Wouldn't it be the purpose and character of the use? Wouldn't that be the key consideration here?
The stated intentional malice? Fuck no. There's a case called Warhol, and what Sonia Sotomayor in the majority writes is that
I get it for unique or creative content, but doesn't Ethan just sit there and yap most of the time? Well, no, the thing he registered with the Library of Congress was the content nuke Hasan Piker, and then a bunch of the lefty Hasan dicksuck streamers were like, guys, watch it ethically so that you don't give Ethan views by watching it with me on my stream instead. That was what happened, but he had registered the video at the Library of Congress to make it like explicit that you have to get permission to react to it or whatever, or to reuse it.
That purpose and character of the use is an objective factor. It is not subjective. That the mere statements of the artist don't make a particular purpose or character of the use a particular thing or not. That case was decided recently, and there is.
It was a 4D chess move. That's kind of evil genius shit. Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a 4D chess move.
Certain statements from old cases like Harper and Rowe from the Supreme Court that suggest that like good faith might play a role in an analysis, but in the most recent precedent on SCOTUS and in the Warhol decision, they said it's an objective inquiry. It's not about intentional stated. Like you could say, so for example, it would be like saying the following, right? At the start of your stream, you go, this is transformative, this is fair use, therefore it's fair use and transformative. The mere statements of an individual is not part of the analysis at all.
Why are the YouTube messages not showing up? Oh, I didn't update the URL. That's why. I don't need to do this. I can just go here. I can go to. Sorry. Back. Boom.
Okay. All right. Now I'm curious. Do you even disagree with Ethan that there is rampant sort of abuse of copyright?
Of course not. No.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so you
That's why I think that that's one of the reasons that this is disingenuous.
okay, so you don't disagree that there's rampant abuse of fair use with but you
as exemplified
but
by
you don't
XQC,
right.
Asmongold, Hasan Piker, all these people.
So what is your ideal remedy here? To write new laws to expand fair use, or because you're saying you don't want them to come back with a decision that will like fatally chill the React community so as to basically like destroy it. So like what is your preferred remedy to this situation?
I just want to be clear. It doesn't bear on what I think the deception is here.
I just want to know, because if you don't disagrry,
out of curiosity, I do think that the current law is such that these React streams are basically 80% infringement, and I think that there ought to be new laws that clarify the scope of reaction videos. Maybe they're platform specific. Maybe they have certain sets of factors. But no, I don't think that in fact the current laws as they are would be approving of the kinds of content that you're seeing from all these React streamers.
Yeah, it's like when video games first started showing up on YouTube stuff. Technically, all those gaming companies could have filed copyright claims, and
wrong
they
with the
still
webcam
could
angle,
today.
bro?
In fact, they do sometimes. I think Nintendo has done it.
What are they?
But
This is my backup cam though. My other cam died.
What do they do, Hutch, when there's an infringement?
they take the video down. There's like a DMCA claim, and they take the video down, right? Yeah. So like, but the thing with the video games is like they all realized that they would probably make more money if they just allowed YouTube content because
yes.
they're getting all these views or whatever. And so there's been
some have chosen not to press potential claims that they have.
The vast majority.
I would say most go through the DMCA.
For video game stuff? No, definitely not.
To the extent that there's infringing content.
Well, it's all infringing. That's the point. Like anytime you post a video of like yourself playing Call of Duty.
To the extent that there's infringement and they have a desire to take action, what they do is they don't file a lawsuit. They have a DMCA takedown. Right.
Right. But
so the notion.
Well, the whatever.
That setting precedent. That's an additional reason that this is.
But also DMCAing something on Twitch is a waste of fucking time. Who cares?
Isn't plausible. The notion that setting precedent in the form of a legal ruling, which by the way,
like people aren't going to like, who the fuck cares? Like the live viewer, like Denims had over 50,000 viewers when she watched that video on her stream. Who gives a fuck about the VOD being taken down? Who cares?
Now he's settling, which he isn't achieving. So I guess I don't know what precedent it is. But to the extent that there is any precedent, it's not going to curtail these kinds of the main enforcement mechanisms of things like Disney and Sony, which is not through lawsuits. It's through DMCA takedown notices that people don't contest.
And working
they are
in
able to take down
chat?
shit.
No.
So like it's not
it
any
is.
respect
Hell yeah.
protecting only a fool, only someone who is so deranged and it really has no understanding would think that this had any effect on what Disney or Sony is going to do. And that's even further emphasized by the fact that he's settling with fucking Kaceytron for marginal amounts in which there's no fucking precedent that's been established, other than he leaned on people for apologies that don't relate in any respect to the kind of thing that he's talking about in the initial video.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between you and me is that and you might be right that that's what he did. Like maybe he didn't get that had nothing to do with copyright. And I guess the difference between you and me is like that does not bother me in the way that it bothers you.
So if the only intention was to make these people destitute and he's lying or to impose a punishment for the other statements that don't.
Even if that was his intention, I just don't give a fuck, dude. These people are awful. Who cares?
Relate to the.
Well, clearly he didn't want to make her destitute, right? Like he settled, right?
No, I'm saying if the purpose
also true
is not to protect the React community, but is instead only for something that he is not at all in any respect to protect the React community. If that's the case, you would have a problem with it, wouldn't you? I thought you said that lying in general is bad.
No, I didn't say no. I said that precisely the opposite. I said not all lies are created equal. And this particular lie, because it's kind of content at the same time, right? Like he's got his own retribution, his own kind of cause of retribution, and it's also like this. It's like a spectacle all at the same time. And so no, I don't
know how that affects the moral calculus, that it's a spectacle. I mean, a lot of things could be spectacles, and I don't know how that. What does that affect the intuitions here?
I'm saying that it's like a show. It's like I think he wanted to publicly punish these people, and I understand why he feels that way.
That's my point. So we agree.
Right. I don't know if I ever disagree with that, but like I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, because his claim was legitimate either way. So if he's doing it like as a move of like vengeance or something, regardless, like his claim is legitimate. So who gives a fuck? Like it's not like it's like a slap suit or something. Like it's a legitimate like legal claim.
I think it's bad if he lies about it.
The only
it says it's to protect from Disney and Sony when it is so clearly not. And also it's specifically not on the ground that he states, which he couldn't have predicted at the time he set the trap, the intentional stated malice. That is certainly not what he was planning to do when he set the trap. So in order to even buy that was in his mind, you'd have to acknowledge that he changed his mind about which precedent he wanted to set in between when he set the trap and when they did it.
Maybe he's all over the place. Maybe he convinced himself. Maybe he's lying. Maybe it's just.
But this is ultimate charity. This is ultimate charity to Ethan.
Please, Pisco, do not talk about ultimate charity. Holy shit! While you sit here and say that Denim's telling her audience that Ethan's kids are in danger is not encouraging her audience to call CPS on him. Like, please don't sit here and talk about charity. I'm about maximum charity. I am begging you, dude. It's going to trigger me out of this fucking universe.
Ethan Klein, that you don't apply in the slightest to the people that you hate.
I don't think I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't have enough information. Like, I could reach out and ask him, but like, I don't pry to that level. Like, I just don't know, and I don't know him.
All I want him is to acknowledge, all right, this is what I want. What I want him to acknowledge is basically, okay, it's not true. When I started with this whole ReactGate stuff, this isn't about that. It's not about protecting from Sony and Disney. That was wrong when I said that. And I was, that really wasn't at all motivating me. That's what I think.
Isn't that kind of implied when he settled with Kaceytron, and now it looks pretty likely that he's settling with Frogan as well? Isn't it kind of implied?
Point. So what you just said, isn't it implied that isn't at all motivating him when he settles?
So you're mad that he lied? That's what this is? Like, that seems like such a minor part of this entire story.
I'm mad that he lied, and also, even though I don't think it's a legal bar to bring in the claim, I actually think it's chicken shit to use the copyright statute to settle scores, even if it's a valid claim.
Well, that's brain dead, Pisco. Who the fuck cares? Like,
saying even if it's a valid claim, I think it's chicken shit and wrong to use the copyright.
That's like, okay.
Right, statute to primarily like settle scores on unrelated matters. Especially when you have no.
Yeah, true. This guy in Hutch's chat said, "Glad we got here." Oh, so Pisco just doesn't like it. Glad we got there. Yep, pretty much. That's what this boils down to. And he had to find 1,000 fucking fake arguments to walk us through for 3 goddamn hours before we got to this point. Like, yeah, he's just like glazing. He's just glazing. He's glazing the lefties.
Go for it.
If you felt like somebody abused your family, like actually abused your family, like very substantively, impactfully abused your family.
Well, one, I think that you would have to raise to a certain level of misconduct, and then it's going to ground out into what we're talking about before, where you could see.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But second to that, I think that like if they abuse, you should like sue them for the abusive conduct. You should do the thing that's tailored to the issue. I'm not a big fan of these pretext shit, and I especially don't like that it's kind of sullying my image of Ethan as a defender of copyright, the sane copyright approach, which he did, right? It was beautiful, magical when he was attacking XQC for his garbage, malicious conduct, which it was. And Ethan Klein says it was intentional siphoning when XQC did it. And so I don't buy this thing. It's like, I don't mind thieving. What I mind is when you say you're thieving. That's what really bothers me. Like, this shit is bullshit. And I had this very positive view of Ethan Klein as one of the best people of like the lay people and the influencers on copyright. He would always jump to have like a calibrated take that wasn't far lefty, get rid of all intellectual property, get rid of copyright, get rid of patents. It's all theft. But he didn't go as far as like XQC saying like, or sorry, the opposite of saying we should enforce all the time and there should be no room for fair use, that kind of thing. I really appreciated that. And this sullies my image of it. And don't try to fucking, and also personally, if we're going to go by malice.
Was this like he's trying to paint himself as an honest actor? Crazy.
Calling me Mike from PA, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck? And then also, by the way.
Wait, did I say that?
No, not you. He did. He quote tweeted you, not too dissimilar to how you quote tweeted
You're not Mike from PA, Pisco, but you are on your way there right now.
Taylor Lorenz. We need to talk about that, by the way.
Wait, when did he quote tweet?
Omitting context.
When did he quote tweet me? Ethan did?
Yeah, well, he on Insta, and then he basically said, "What is this dude like, Mike from PA? You didn't stand up for me then." Just saying.
I don't think I saw that. Did I see
You
that?
didn't see it? Okay, but he's basically comparing me to some lol cow, and
You're trying your hardest to make yourself into one, man.
or people who consider a lol cow who never actually, as I understand, was admitted to the bar, implying that I'm not a real lawyer, implying that I'm.
Well, I don't know about the implication that he's not a real lawyer. I'm pretty sure Pisco is very much a real lawyer, but he is also like so full of shit with all of his talking points in this conversation, and in a lot of conversations he's had lately, unfortunately.
Misrepresenting myself, whatever, and basically,
I stick up for you, bro. I do.
I'm just saying, like that happened.
Yeah, Hutch should stop doing that because Pisco is being a little grifter. Who is Mike from PA? How do I not know about a lol cow? He's a couch puncher, bro. You don't know about the couch puncher? What? Oh, my wire.
Alright, maybe I'm feeling more violent.
He's trying. So this girl is Bad Bunny. She's like off the internet these days. But Mike is very into this woman. Very, very into this woman. And he is trying to impress her and seem like an alpha male. That's not Mike. Mike's off to the left.
Well, we gotta accelerate, get the acceleration. Get a Mad Max universe. I just feel it. Yeah. Ooh. So one thing about the pretty hot dogs. The thing about Urban, it was made by Scotch Irish, right? It's really the Scotch people. Yes. And they took their culture. Yes.
How long is this fucking video, bro?
The one thing about my people.
I just wanted a clip.
He'll apologize by saying, "I didn't know you were so sensitive."
We're also violent. Listen, I'm Irish. We're a violent.
I have to tell Mike like several times a day not to joke about one particular thing, and he keeps doing it because every time he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were serious."
She's like talking shit about him to her chat, like while he's standing right there. It's so funny.
Meaning he's never even considered the fact that I could be.
Are you going off or are we getting?
When we no,
This is Mike.
consequences of me talking to myself. I do.
Where the fuck is it?
Can't like get.
I can't hang out with him then.
Sure, but like that's emotional differences. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have to find ways to reconcile.
I can hang out with him like over voice chat. Too much more.
You figure out ways to reconcile those ideas. I don't know. It all comes down to where you can. Oh, I would never do that. Like stole $1,000. I don't know. I mean, feels good. Oh my god.
There it is.
Yeah.
There's the punch.
That just feels good. Oh my god. It just feels good.
What did you just do? Why is this couch now moved? Did you just hit the couch? Why is this couch now moved? Did you just hit the couch?
I just nudged it. Oh shit, they're here.
It's just like such a cringe moment. I can't.
And
That's I don't.
listen,
First of all, I'm not.
fuck you, Ethan. Like,
Okay.
have a conversation with me, or Dan Saltman, have a conversation with me.
I mean, I would like to see you guys
Hell yeah, brother. This just feels so good.
have a conversation.
Hell yeah.
But
do it.
but talk about moderation. Like sometimes our spicy interactions evoke strong opinions in my chat.
But that dude's like a psychotic hardcore leftist who's like a Hasan waiting room is what he's known as.
And you can ask my chat. I tell them all the time. Like I tell them all the time that we need to compartmentalize. Like for me, I'm a big boy. I know you're a big boy. I know you like the intellectual exercise of arguing. It's fun for you in the same way that it is for me. You've sharpened your brain a little bit more than I have in terms of like all the legal stuff. But like I tell my chat all the time, like when that argument is over, we're good. And so
this is the more famous clip.
That's fine. I think that's fine. So if a guy pays for my tab,
I think I'm getting your attention. I feel like I touched like a vampire touching holy water.
can I help you?
I think they want to go in. I'm getting your attention. I feel like I touched like a vampire touching holy water.
Can I help you?
Okay, anyways.
So like I try in my own little way to manipulate and dissuade people in my chat.
I get you. I get you. We're good. But all I'm saying is like, I I understand that people kind of have this question, why is he spending so much time on it? Part of it is because, as I think about it more, I just do think that there are certain standards that we should expect from our creators. And I think in most cases, I give you, for example, like the Tim Pool example, where let's say that you
Yeah, that's the clip. Physically painful clip. That physically hurts to watch.
were reacting to something and it was clearly copyright infringement, and he's just trying to fuck with you because you said something about Russia. Like, we would all stand up for you and be like, hey, if you have a problem with what Hutch said about the Russia thing, why don't you address it? Why don't you actually have that conversation? And we would all kind of stand up. And so I'm just trying to say, like, how would we react to this kind of tactic? And in general, most people would be against it. The one situation that where we would be in favor of it, if there's some really just like predominating fucked up shit that these people did to a certain degree of threshold. And what I've heard from people with respect to their misconduct is in the realm of, I'm just sorry to say, it's not this kind of like, we're extolling you to call CPS, maybe BadEmpanada, so sue at BadEmpanada on that stuff, but I haven't seen the evidence for these people to suggest that like they rise to that threshold where I would kind of be accepting of this tactic. And so that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, at the end of the day,
Oh man, I don't even want to hear him say this shit anymore. It's just like sad.
that's what we're talking about. But it is a kind of tactic that I
Remember when he would drop the piss? Remember when Pisco would drop the piss? And now he's pissing all over himself. What happened to this guy?
find unsavory, and I think it's wrong. But you can disagree, man.
I mean, I hear that. I do. I hear that. And I also know that if somebody, if like Esme's pretty insulated from internet stuff. Thankfully, she there's been some weirdos that have reached out to her and like, but if I felt like an entire collective community like pulled together and started attacking her and making her life like really bad, and I had leverage, I would probably use that leverage to try to like push back against those people, whether it's like legal leverage or whatever. Like, I think I would be similarly compelled to take action to try to punish those people for hurting her. So that's what I think about more. Like, that's where my mind goes.
Okay,
So,
if that's what's going on, then don't give us this whole like. And if you're trying to bait them into something where you would have leverage, which was his plan, I don't want to hear this implausible story that also coincidentally, magically, I was thinking about the broader React community. If that's what it is, at least let's be honest about it. You know, that's all I want. And if people say I don't give a fuck what Pisco's saying, just, you know, you can say that, but then don't dispute it, right? Then don't dispute it and just grant it and say, I just don't care because they're good targets and that they ought to be, for what they did to Ethan, punished in this way. At least be honest.
and again, I'm not speaking for Ethan. I don't have any special insight. I don't know if that's the thing that motivates him. Like, I can't. I'm just saying, like, if that was the case, if he was motivated, I could understand that impulse. But
then why hasn't he? Can I ask you a question then? Why hasn't he celebrated this as a massive win for the React community?
I don't know. I think it's likely that he was primarily motivated by a desire to punish those people. I don't find that controversial or.
Right, but
yeah, I mean, his claim was legitimate, so who gives a fuck what his motivation for bringing the claim was? Like,
I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like, that's where my mind goes. I think like, well, yeah, like obviously he would be compelled to do stuff like that.
If you thought that this was a massive win that just vindicated you and protected, you know, we're saved, this helps us against Disney and Sony, why isn't he doing those kinds of things?
Yeah, again, my guess is, my guess is that he was more motivated by retribution. That's what I would guess.
Of course.
But I gotta go, man. It's been a long conversation.
Tomorrow are we Monday, are we talking to Loner Box?
I think so. Yeah, I gotta reach out to him, but yeah, we'll set something up.
Hutch, you know I love you, man.
I know.
Yeah, he has to say this because Hutch is sitting here like, bro, is he just like a full-on grifter now? Like, I better suck his cock a little bit before we go, because this is a horrible conversation.
Buddy, I love you too, buddy.
Live and learn, but I do want you to know that I don't want anybody to be fucking harassing you. I don't want people to do any of that shit, and I really do appreciate our back and forth. I think that they provide some life for live and learn, and I again don't want anything negative directed your way from anybody.
Same to you. Enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
You as well.
All right.
Hey,
bye-bye.
Stay cool. Bye-bye.
We just had to We just had to make a conscious choice to stop because I'm hungry, man. I'm hungry. I gotta get some food. I gotta go for a walk. I'm like sweaty and like muggy right now. Oh God, is my camera not working again? Crap. Can't get it to work now. Hold on. Let me see if I close this. Quit. Deactivate. Close.
Okay. That was definitely something. That was absolutely something, wasn't it? That was perfect grift flow state. Gotta respect doing that for 3 hours without breaking. Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. The prognosis on Pisco is not bright. Not at all. But, oh well. Oh, fucking well, huh? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It is what it is, huh?